99.
All right, Cleveland Moto, we are rolling. We have numbers. Yeah, we're trying to get these podcasts out every single fucking week and make sure everybody gets their share, because I know there's going to be some weeks coming up where we have events and shit like that. We might not be able to do it. Bandcamp's coming up, which is a big deal for us. And then, of course, AMA Vintage Days. We'll try to record there. I don't know if we'll be able to download, or upload, I should say, from that location. So to my immediate left...
Chris Smith.
And Chris, what have you been riding this week? What's your...
This week I've been riding the 2002 Kawasaki Concourse.
Okay, that's been your main steed for this week?
Well, I was on a road trip, so that's what I did.
That's what you did
Yeah.
on the big trip.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Oscar?
Oscar, and I've been riding my 1958 Allstate. I've been riding it. The weather's been great around here.
You should probably tell people, when you say Allstate, that could be a lot of different kinds of bikes.
Yes, it's a Vespa. It's a vintage scooter that was sold back in the day, 58, and the Sears through the Sears catalogs, right?
Roebuck.
Yeah, Sears and
Yes.
Roebuck catalog.
Yeah.
Question, because you are obviously you're of Mexican national origin. Did you guys have Sears?
Yes, we did.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had Sears.
Yeah.
Did you
Even
get the
Wolfworth.
catalog when you were kids?
Not. There wasn't. I don't think so.
Yeah.
It was just the stores themselves. But
Okay, we had the catalogs, and I do remember being a little kid being able to see the scooters and motorcycles in the catalogs. But they weren't the Vespas. By that point, it was like the early 70s.
Made it past the underwear section, did you?
They were kind of sticky, those pages.
All right,
but,
and to Oscar's left.
Nick DeVito, and I've been riding my Suzuki SP200, and also I've been riding to work on my Vespa Rally 200.
Yeah, and it's a gorgeous one. We do want to get a picture of that in the show notes.
I'll have to write it in sometime.
Yeah, because that's a beautiful bike. I sold him what could be loosely described as a pile of tetanus.
Yep.
And it was the definition of project bike. And if anybody has any question about, can you turn a sow's ear into a silk purse? Yeah, you can, because it looks fucking gorgeous. And to his left,
Sleepy Cinch,
Yeah.
and been riding my Super Tenere to work and a lot of other places. And then I allegedly may have ridden my Husky off-road into Miles Road type area off of 480.
well, urban exploring.
Urban exploring allegedly. I'm not quite sure that happened, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened this week.
Cool. Wait, now you have a new bike.
No, I was about to say, and I rode, which out of all of it was probably the funnest riding all week. So we bought my wife from this awesome shop called Cleveland Moto a little Metropolitan 50,
Yeah.
which you don't know if it's running or not when you hit the button. But you want to talk about bringing a smile.
What color scheme is it?
It is creamsicle orange. It's perfect. It's perfect for her. This is my wife's first motorcycle-ish thing, and she's enamored with it.
She was so excited. Your kids were so jazzed.
Yeah, they were pumped. Everything about it turned out great.
It was a circus.
She went from having to park literally 2.5 miles away from her work to next door to the front door.
Wow.
So
That's fantastic.
It's been great. I've been taking beer runs on that, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Oh,
And to his
sorry.
left?
I'm distracted. Somebody's out front looking at bikes.
No, he's not. They're not looking at bikes. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Johnny Chrome. I have not ridden that much because I've been taking the kids everywhere.
Yeah.
I have ridden, though.
Yeah,
I've ridden both 89 Pacific Coast,
All right.
which left my house last night and went to my nephew, Mark. Hopefully he'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I've also ridden my 2012 Moto Guzzi.
Which now you can fit in the garage.
Which, yes, now that the plastic couch has moved to, migrated to Lodi to his house, I can actually put my V7 bagger
Yeah.
into the garage without pulling the cases off and without using the center stand. I still use the center stand because I like it.
'Cause you like to, yeah.
I mean, I literally had to before. I had to take the cases off and set them on the lift with the chopper.
Just so you can put your bike in
and
the garage.
slide it in and stand it in the center stand because there's no room.
Oh my
But
god.
now I have room.
Have you had the chopper running? Have you had that out?
I have not had it running on gasoline.
Yeah.
I've had it running on wolf juice a couple times.
Okay.
It's got a couple of oil leaks.
We'll talk about that in another podcast.
Spitz
But
oil.
that's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good topic. So,
Right.
and to his left,
Steve Hoffert, and today I rode my RV250, my Sim RV250,
Sam, scooter. Yeah.
and my KLR 250, and I cleaned out the carb and put together my CL70, and I rode that today.
Oh, cool.
You're just showing off.
No, and I rode the Ruckus here.
Mm-hmm.
And
4 in one day.
yeah,
That was just
so that was just today.
That was just today.
And earlier this week, I was riding my Africa Twin, and I rode my year-old Deco quite a bit because I had to do some work at all my other plants, and I can't carry as much stuff
You
on
can carry a lot of
stuff.
shit with your
So
own.
I had to carry a bunch of tools and a bunch of instrumentation. So the Deco was perfect for that.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well done.
So that's 7. You had 7 fucking motorcycles that run.
Yeah, and also my zero-turn mower.
Shit.
I was like, you're 0? No, you're 0
Got a
turn.
zero.
Turn
I only
mower.
have 2 bikes that don't run.
Okay, what are your 2 bikes that don't run?
My 2 CB354s,
Okay,
and I want to work on those,
right.
but I just don't have time. I mean,
I know if you and Luke ever put your heads together on that, I know Luke is fiending for CB354 stuff right
Just
now.
carburetors. Can't
Right.
find carburetors anywhere. They're like fucking unobtainium.
Yeah.
Well, all these guys on Craigslist keep advertising parts CB354s, and
Yeah.
then they are all a bunch of flakes.
Half of those are the same fucking guy, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's a
But
flake.
he'll
Whoever
like-
that guy is, he's a flake.
Luke went out there and made a deal and shook a hand and offered to leave money, and the guy's like, "Oh no." And then the next day he was a ghost. He couldn't be had on the telephone or would not return messages. And then the following day, the ad was back up for more money.
Oh, really?
And it was the same dude. And,
What an asswipe.
yeah, I mean,
That's
and Luke is so meek and
Yeah.
so nice. I'm like,
Yeah.
you were at his house. I'm like, I would just call this guy and say, look, dude, it's really poor business to do that when
Well, yeah.
someone knows where you live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Right. Doesn't
You
take
know.
much, man. And to his left?
Pete Hempling. I've been riding my 2017 BMW F800 GSA. A couple hundred miles on that, and then just up tonight I rode the Honda Ruckus.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a pretty congested area here in Cleveland, and the Ruckus is a good get around town bike. You know, I got to strap up to ride the F800, and it's to get out of town bike. But if I'm scooting about town, I'd say take a scoot about on the Ruckus.
Yeah.
I still wear the gear, but you know,
It's the right bike for the neighborhood.
It is.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's not too many places around here you can get up above 35 miles an hour, and that's what that thing will do. You know?
And that's where our shop is, about our locations that we've had for the past 2 incarnations of our shop. We are either in Lakewood or Lakewood adjacent. And Lakewood, if you're a Clevelander, Lakewood is kind of a very convenient thing. You know, Lakewood, Rocky River, and Westlake and all this stuff over here. It's very scoot friendly. Like, you don't need to go over 35 miles an hour.
Right.
Yeah, you can go
Yeah.
just about anywhere
Yeah.
on residential surface streets.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
35
North,
is
south,
usually the
east,
max.
west, you don't have to go very far. Yeah, 35 will get you where you want to go.
Yep.
You could
That's
park
right.
on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can park on the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
if you're
That's
under
absolutely true.
150
Under
Unless,
150
unless you're
CCs.
in Ohio City.
Well, you know what? That's what's weird is we've heard. So you know the law that was so kindly given to us says that in the state of Ohio, motorcycles under 150 cc, scooters. I don't know if the law actually specifically says scooters or motorcycles, but it says 150 cc's for sure. And it says that they can park on the sidewalks as long as they do not interfere with the use of the sidewalk by pedestrians.
Impede traffic.
Impede pedestrian
Pedestrian
traffic.
traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the state has deemed it so. And a couple of people have gotten tickets. And the ticket was written, or the ticket was issued, and the person immediately took the ticket with the ORC and said, look, this is, the state of Ohio has deemed this legal. And the court or the safety administrator or whatever says, well, just because the state of Ohio says it's legal doesn't mean we say it's legal.
Right.
And I'm saying, well, no, that's not right. That's you are
It's not,
Yeah.
but they do it all the time.
right, exactly.
They
And
don't
that's
have a
the
specific law saying that you can't do it.
Exactly.
Then Ohio law is
Supersedes.
supersedes their law. But
unless you have a specific law.
but unfortunately,
Yeah.
Ohio is a home rule state, so that you could make a law that says that you can't do
Right.
an Ohio law. So, but if they don't have it on the books, they can't enforce it.
Exactly. And what we found though is every time that somebody did decide to fight it, and go into the mayor's court or whatever to fight it with the ORC.
They end up losing.
They end up winning. They end up
Oh, they
saying they just dismiss it,
Oh.
and they're like, well, the state has deemed it so, and in all reality, that means the cities will usually follow suit. They just haven't gotten around to it yet. It costs money to make those changes, and those cities aren't prepared to spend that money on something stupid like a moped parking on the sidewalk law. As far as that's the way they view it.
Right. And if anybody's interested, I just sent this to my wife so she could park at her school.
Smart. And
So
print
it's-
it out and laminate it.
I did. She
and
did.
stick it on the scooter.
And so it is section 4511.68, and it's section B.
Yep.
A person shall be permitted without charge or restriction to stand or park on a sidewalk a motor-driven cycle or motor scooter that has an engine not larger than 150 cubic centimeters or bicycle, provided that the motor-driven cycle, motor scooter, or motorcycle does not impede the normal flow of pedestrian traffic.
Nice.
This division does not authorize any person to operate a vehicle in the violation of section. Don't ride on the sidewalk.
Don't ride on the sidewalk.
But you're allowed to park.
Right.
So yeah, so she has that. Actually, I sent it to her. She
Print
printed
that
it.
out, laminate it, put it on your handlebars.
I put my zero on the sidewalk all the time.
Zeros.
I'm waiting to get a ticket for that one.
If I take the 200 badge off of my rally,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I debadged my GTS 250. Yeah, I just figured what they don't know won't hurt me.
Right.
And I pull up, park it, run in and do what I'm going to do. I've had the cops standing outside and be like, "Is that your scooter?" Yeah. Cool, man. That's
Now
great.
they just want to take pictures of
Yeah,
it
they
because
do.
it's
Yeah.
fucking Scoot
It's
vodka.
weird.
It's furry. Since it got all weird. Now that it's grown a fur coat, everyone likes to take pictures of it. So what did you do? You went to Americade?
No, I went to Laconia.
Oh, Laconia. Oh, Laconia.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a big Harley thing still?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Where is that located?
That's in Laconia, New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
And it actually takes place in a section called Weirs Beach. And I will tell you, so we got there Tuesday afternoon. I guess the big days are right now, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But we rode up there, and it's parking in the middle of the street. You know, they park the bikes nose to tail down the middle of the street. And we walked down the length of the row where all the stuff is. There's T-shirts, there's patches, there's all sorts of
Any leather?
crap, leather,
Bandanas.
oh my gosh! And I got to tell you, I was sitting there looking at all this shit, thinking the length of this party is maybe just about the same length as the Hooli.
Right.
I thought, what's the big deal here,
Right.
right? Now, of course, I went rolling in with my concourse and my high-vis helmet and my high-vis jacket.
Right.
So they gave me premium parking, of course, right?
I thought you were a cop.
Right next to the porta potty. Yeah. They saw you and they were like, "Oh, one of these guys."
But I mean, I'm glad I went to it because the bloom is off the rose. I mean,
Yeah.
there's really enough to it. Now, what we did was we rode a lot of the back roads and blah blah blah, up and down, turn around. They went to whatever that mountain is,
Washington?
Mount Washington, yeah. And the two guys I was with, they wanted to take their fat bobs up Mount Washington. And I said, fuck that. You know, if
Right.
you guys go, I'll wait for you down here.
Sure.
No way am I taking the concourse
Right.
up that kind of a hill and then get stuck and have to try to turn it around before I topple it over and push it off the edge. So I said, fuck that.
You weren't climbing Mount Everest, Chris.
No, I've
Yeah.
driven I drove a '73 Cutlass to the top of Mount Washington.
I drove a TW200 to the top.
Right.
Well, you know,
Now, on the way down, it wouldn't start till I got it like.
Oh, really?
well, the thing is, I was telling these guys, I said, if I had something small like a Honda Ruckus, I would do it in a
Yeah.
second, you know, because there you can do
You
some
wouldn't make it up there in 2 days.
Is it a road or is it dirt or what?
No,
is
it's a paved road
That's
that
all right.
is
All
that
right.
is
It's a private road.
Yeah.
is
Wow.
lightly paved. Yeah, it's like $7 for a motorcycle to go up and stuff like
It's
that.
a unique marketing opportunity to get a sticker that says "This car climbed Mount Washington." You know?
But I got to tell you, so
Well, then.
we're coming back yesterday
Yeah.
from New Hampshire. So we go through New Hampshire, we go through, and the temperature was maybe 62 or something like that. And so we get through New Hampshire, get through Vermont, and we get on to some of these roads in New York. We eventually get out onto I-90, and we're on our way to Utica because we're going to overnight. And so we're getting into some traffic, and we happen to pass a kid on his motorcycle, and we didn't think anything about it. And we get down 4 more rest stops and pull off. I'm in taking a leak, and here's this kid walking in, and I looked at him, and the kid has on a tank top T-shirt, a backpack, a helmet, gloves, pants and boots,
Yeah. And 62 degrees out there.
and it's fucking cold.
Yeah, and he's going 70 miles an hour, getting that 20-degree wind chill.
He's
He's
not
riding-
old, Chris.
Huh?
He's not old.
Yeah, he's a kid. So he's
Chris said, "Come on over, let me warm you up."
well, I did better than that, but he's
You
on a
like gladiator
2002 Honda CBR 600.
Okay, yeah.
So with the rear sets and everything like that, hunkered.
Yeah.
And so he said, "How you doing?" He says, "I'm freezing." And if any guys know me, I overpack for
Yeah,
shit
you're,
like
you're
this.
overpacked, yeah.
So I said, "Well," I said, "I got an extra jacket on my bike. If you want to borrow a jacket." He says, "Really, man?" I said, "Well, where are you going?" He's coming from Connecticut to Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, boy. What's
with
her name?
With a T-shirt, with a tank top T-shirt. No, he's in a band.
I was
He's
gonna,
in a
every
band.
other time I've done that, it was to have sex.
Yeah.
His name is Delaney Morgan. I told him about the. So you're getting a shout out here, Delaney.
Cool.
But either way, so
Ding.
you know that's the summer Joe rocket jacket with the flow through ventilation.
Yeah.
And I thought you're still gonna be cold as shit. I said,
Yeah, but it's
You
a
think-
wind stopper.
you think maybe you want to buy a sweatshirt? He says, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah.
So we got a sweatshirt on him.
So wait, this
Put
kid's
the jacket-
freezing his tail
Thanks,
off. And you
thanks,
gave him,
Uncle Chris.
wait a second, this kid's freezing his tail off and you gave him a perf?
Oh, who?
A perforated jacket.
Well, I
With
wasn't
no
gonna
liner?
get. I wasn't. Well, yeah, I didn't have the liner in my jacket.
So you literally gave this guy the equivalent of a fishing net.
Okay, well, if you want to
And he's like-
complain,
I think it sounds like Chris was casting fishing nets.
no, help. Settle down now. Settle down.
It was catfishing in one order because it's like, hey, do you want a jacket? And the kid's like, oh my god, do I want a jacket? You bet your ass I want a jacket.
I'll give it to you. Don't
I'll
worry.
take a jacket. My god, what do I have to do to get this jacket? And then you get to see the jacket, and the jacket is a fishing net. It's a fishing net lightly holding armor together.
Gladly give you this jacket if you burp into this can.
Hey, kid, are you cold? Come over here.
All right, Pete, get out of the gutter. Come on up on the curb with the rest
Come
of
on
these
over
guys.
here, you little son of a bitch.
How can I repay you for this jacket? Just take some pictures of you wearing it later
Wearing
on
it
without that tank top.
Yeah. You guys are off a little bit here. So anyhow,
If only we would have a liner, the kid would have actually been warm.
well, you know, it's not like I'm walking into Uncle Phil's,
I know, Jack
scooter
and Boy.
shop. You know, what else am I going to do? So anyhow, so the kid made it all the way down to Columbus by today, and he's going to take the jacket over, drop it off at my sister's house. Who lives
cool.
in Columbus. So
fantastic.
good karma.
That is good karma.
Huh?
That's exactly it.
And-
And he had that nice ventilation system going on.
Yeah, but he bought a fucking sweatshirt.
He did, so that's good. So
Buy
he
a
got,
sweatshirt.
he got a thermal layer. He got a thermal
So,
layer.
Yeah.
You bought
other
him
than
a
that-
sweatshirt, didn't you?
No, I did not.
You bought him. I know you, Chris. I know
I was
you
going to
bought
ask
him a
that.
sweatshirt. He
But,
negotiated.
Dude,
And then he bought him a
look at that.
sweatshirt.
so he's in a band with his brother,
Yeah.
his best buddy, and a drummer who lives in Columbus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he took a one-way flight back home to Connecticut somewhere.
Yeah.
Got on his bike, throws on his.
This guy doesn't sound like the sharpest
Snappiest
tool in this
t-shirt.
shit. Let me guess, he's a bassist, isn't he?
No, he's the lead guitarist
Oh,
and the
Jesus.
songwriter and all this kind of shit.
Well, there you
He
go.
can't play now because he's got frostbite.
Right.
He was wearing
But
gloves.
Steve, it was right up in the neck of the woods, a specular. You know how cold it gets up there.
Oh yeah, it's cold.
I
didn't screw
saw this
around.
kid.
It's cold.
I thought, "Fuck, man!" And I actually said to him, "I said, think maybe it's time to break out the gear?" He says, "Well, this is all I brought."
This is all I brought. But
Jeez.
you surely have more. That's the danger when you leave on a ride on like an 80-degree day, and you're like, "Oh, it's gorgeous out. I don't know if I'm going to need all of
And
this."
then
And
that-
then you realize you need more than that.
At that point, I'll empty the garbage out of a garbage can
Yep.
and use the garbage can liner.
heard that
It's
shit.
anything to like break
Yeah,
the wind.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like holy moly.
But you know, all these guys,
any port in a storm.
all these guys that don't understand adventure bikes or even the idea of luggage and stuff are always like, why would you drag that shit around with you all the time? Well, let me tell you, I got enough shit to fix my bike, fix tires, and I have about 3 different ranges of temperatures that I can put on at any time. So that's why I have these ugly ass bags strapped to my bike. You know?
Now, I'll tell you, I could have given him for the reduced flow through my rain gear jacket.
Right.
But I thought, well, fuck that.
You
because
might need that.
It's going to rain. Shit, pal. I'm hanging on to that.
The only thing in the world that will make it stop raining is having a rain suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a rain suit, it's 30% less likely to rain.
They said if it's a drought and you want it to rain, just wash your car
Wash
or
your
a
car.
bike or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is Phil, and I spent most of the week riding my 650. My new 650,
Which one?
Versus?
the new one,
The
the one that you guys all walked past.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
My new Honda
the Honda.
650.
Four-tired
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, yeah.
That thing's cool.
It's got 14s on the front. It's got 13s on the back. Yeah, it's weird. It's the last car. It was the last car designed by Soshito Honda, and it was a project with him and Pininfarina. So that's why you see a lot of the cues there that you've seen on other Italian cars. And it's a Honda Beat, B-E-A-T. It's 650 cc's. It's 5-speed. Supposedly it's governed to 136 kilometers per hour, which we have photographic evidence is not true. It's the record top speed was 143 kilometers per hour, which is as much as one would like to argue about 88 miles per hour. And the tachometer was, and mind you, this was a car, not a motorcycle, a car. And yeah, the tachometer was at, oh, here we go, a lot. The tachometer was at 7,800 RPM in a car,
Woof.
doing 140 plus kilometers per hour, and stable as a fucking rock. Like, and less than 11 feet long, less than 5 feet wide, 1,260 pounds.
Is it a 90?
It's a 92.
92?
Yeah, 92.
Wasn't this part of the movement? Isn't there like a movement in Japan for what do they call them? They're like a certain class.
I pronounce them Kai cars. I've heard Japanese people pronounce them K cars, K-E-I.
Okay. Yeah. That's
And
it.
so the rule is, as long as you meet those structural, if it fits in that box, for lack of a better term, if it's less than 11 feet long, if it's less than 5 feet wide, if it weighs less than, I think it's 1,400 kilograms, or 1,400 pounds, rather, then it doesn't need to have airbags, it doesn't need to have side door bolster, like, it doesn't need to have a lot of things that a real car would have to have. It can be insured a lot cheaper, and it's taxed at a much lower rate. So you can imagine why they're popular. And so a while back, we bought a Subaru Sambar minivan that had a Volkswagen facelift done to it, so it looks like a transporter. That's over at Porco. So Stefan's got that.
But this one has an airbag, right?
It does, in the form of a spare tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has a spare tire mounted in front of your feet. Well, no, between your feet and the passenger's feet. So when you open the front, there's a spare tire mounted there. And in the owner's manual, it says, do not drive around with the spare tire missing, because that is the crash safety feature of the vehicle.
Crumples on.
The crumples on.
That
And so, yeah, and it's,
Airbag.
but it's very popular because the trunk will hold, like, we figured out 21 beers or something like that.
Yeah.
So the
It's
trunk
just
is literally big enough to hold like 4 large fish,
Just a.
like 4 dinner-sized
That's-
fish. And that's the trunk. There's like a boombox battery, and you can see the air conditioning, plumbing, the dipstick, and that's about it. And then the front is very tempting to take that spare tire out and just use all that space where the spare tire was for like actual items.
Yeah.
But they don't want you to do that in case of a collision, which you would die in anyway. I mean, right. If you put on an average galvanized trash can, you'd have a better job of surviving a crash than in this car. It's
You're barely a foot above the floor.
oh no, yeah, you're
You're
on
just
the ground,
ground.
man. Yeah, you're on the ground. When you're sitting in this thing, you are lower than a badger's badger. I mean, you are right there.
How many do you estimate are in the States?
I don't know. So when you get into these things, there's the Mazda AZ1 or AZ1, which has the gull wings, like a Mercedes SLK. So the doors open, and I've been very fascinated with those. I've been watching them closely. People pay way too much for them. And fortunately, when I went to the dock on Tuesday to pick this car up, there was an AZ1 there. So I was able to distract the dock worker long enough, because they don't want you taking pictures of anything. So I was able to distract the dock worker long enough that I was able to run over, open the door to the AZ1, and jump in it, at which point I realized I couldn't shut the door. So I am 6'1", 210 pounds, is not authorized to go in an AZ1. At least not with the doors down. Now, I have heard you can drive them with the doors up.
That's good to know, so you don't buy one though.
Well, that's exactly. It's going to prevent me from buying
Yeah.
them. It's the same reason I can't buy a Mitsubishi Delica, because I really just don't fit in them. I'm fascinated by them, but I really don't fit in them.
Don't they come in extra large?
They don't. No, they don't. And like to get all that trick ass fucking gullwing stuff, you lose space because you have to support all that. And so the Suzuki Cappuccino is also 650 cc's, but it has iron turbo. And this does not have iron turbo. This has like a Metrec kit or whatever. But it basically has 3 individual fuel injectors per cylinder, and it changes them based on your foot pedal position for how much it's firing. Like it has basically VTEC, but it's on the intake side of it. Yeah. So that's that.
Not to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Should we tell our listeners what the agenda is for tonight?
We do have an agenda. Thank you. That's excellent. Because we are trying to change things. You're like pulled a Meckel fresh there.
I'm
So we're going to go through as
Thanks, Dad, for keeping us on track.
yeah, we're going to do the what did you ride this week thing and then go into that. So in today's show, we're trying to be more organized. So in today's show, we're going to talk about purchases that people may have made for themselves, their motorcycles, or their motorcycle lifestyle. We're also going to talk about what things people want to have happen for them at AMA Vintage Days: selling, buying, drinking, falling, whatever. Milk crate, whatever. We're going to talk about 2 new bikes from Honda, the Cub and the Monkey Bike.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. And we're going to have a special text session from Jenny Chrome about a bike that is becoming far more desirable to people in our price range.
PC 800H.
So we're going to talk about some major problems that exist with affordable Harley Davidsons, and we're not talking about Sportsters. We're talking about 88 cubic inch full size Harley Davidsons that, due to their age right now, are becoming buyable for $3,000, $4,000. And a lot of people are going, Jesus Christ, I can get a whole goddamn Softail for $4,000. Why not? I should run right out and buy one. And we know people, friends of ours, that are like, shit, I can buy a Harley for $4,000. I'm going to go do it.
Well, and even on the auctions that you've been in,
Yes.
half of the list are
Have
Harley
been
Davidsons.
Fucking Harleys. And that's the point.
Good
And that's
point.
what we're going to talk about, because be careful if you're buying that lightly used Harley Davidson. There might be something you might want to think about. So that's our lineup for the show. That's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. AMA Vintage Days, man. It is getting closer.
Yeah.
Month away, or a little less, whatever.
And yeah, we did confirm it with all the Santa Cruz people, and Zach is coming in from Boston with a bunch of his friends. We're going to take down the CL100 to ride and sell. CL100, the orange one back there. And it turns out Zach's bringing 2 CL100s. So we're going to have Tres Amigos of CL100s. So that's fucking great.
It's July 6th.
6th, 7th, and 8th.
Good.
Yeah, and if you get down there Thursday night for the camping, you can go over to the campsite area. I know there's a fee that can be paid for person camping, like literally primitive camping, no camper involved. Like you want to sleep in a tent. So it's really affordable. That's what Zach and those guys are doing. And I think they got a little camping spot, just like a tent camping spot. And then if you do go in there, if you want to camp by us, we are in the far, far back corner of the campsite. So people who are in the know will know where the Lou Vin Moto, that's Louisville Vintage Motorcycles, party is. And we are exactly the distance away from the Lou Vin Moto party along the back fence that you need so that they are not keeping you awake all night. So we are about, what would you call that? Would you call that 75 yards? 70 yards?
From the burnout.
Yeah.
The-
One Kawasaki H2 burnout.
And the
Half a
disco,
row.
and
Yeah.
the disco.
The disco ball, the disco lights, and everything else. So, yeah, we're about 3 seconds by Kawasaki H2 from their campsite. And it's you'll see the big yellow bus. So we will have the big yellow bus there. Last year there was a big yellow bus camping right across from us, which made it
Yes.
convenient. So we were
Yes, there was.
one of 2 big yellow buses. So, but we didn't see too many other big yellow buses around the neighborhood.
So look for the bus corral.
Look for the bus garage, pretty much. Yeah.
Are you guys planning on recording a
Yes.
podcast?
Yeah, we're
with
going to record a
Liza and-
podcast. we'll do a podcast Friday night, and we may decide to do just one monster cast with, in the bus with Liza's equipment, and then she can drop it. Yeah,
Nice.
I think that'll be fine. So that's cool. And we may run our shit too. And with the setup, us doing this with an MP3 format, it keeps the file size pretty small. So I don't think we'll have too much trouble dropping things remotely using like a
So you're going to do it on Friday, but not Saturday when you announce my bike that I'm winning.
Right. Yeah. We are not going to do a podcast after the announcement, and we'll do the announcement for the winner of the Moto Guzzi. We'll see how the energy is, but we'll either do it like Saturday after midnight, or we'll do it Sunday morning. But I would be more inclined to do it Saturday after midnight. And if you folks that have bought raffle tickets, I have not contacted you at this moment. We are still putting your name on raffle tickets. I just have been bad at writing all the emails thanking people for making the $20 donation to buy raffle tickets. Yes, we are keeping track of these things, and we still have about 150 tickets left. I want to go into Mid-Ohio with about 100 tickets remaining so that we can have some fun selling tickets to people there, so we can get the energy up for people who are on site. So the ultimate goal is to go into Mid-Ohio with about 100 tickets. I have no problem working a couple of days selling tickets to keep the energy up. And remember, if you do want to buy a ticket, just send $20 to clevelandmoto@gmail.com, PayPal. Use your PayPal. Send $20 to us. And then once I get my shit together, I'm on a little bit of a delay right now, but once I get my shit together, you'll get an email back thanking you for your $20 donation. So thank you very much. The motorcycle is a 2015 Moto Guzzi. It is fully resplendent in all the Scrambler apparel. Yes, it is. And it is very resplendent. It has the Agostini exhaust system that you can't buy anymore. That was one of the early, maybe even considered to be a prototype one. We are the first people that got one. And it has all the fun stuff. The sump guard, the knobby tires. It is ready. It's one of the most capable bikes you'll see running around Mid-Ohio because it can both do the street, the freeway, and the crunchy, gravelly, dirty stuff. So fun. And it's a fun bike to ride too. Distinguished gentleman's ride. That thing was in its fucking glory, man. That thing likes that kind of a ride. So good stuff. Anybody have any targets? My goal is I've got about 4 bikes I want to sell at Mid-Ohio. I've got 4 bikes I'm taking with the CL100 for sure. There's a bunch of stuff that's small and lightweight. When we were at the bar, our friend Colleen was like, she's like, I think I'm going to go to band camp. I don't know. And we're like, oh, man, if you're going to go to band camp, you need to take the Metropolitan. Because, we have this. Ready? It's a double header. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's like fireworks.
Quadruple,
It
man.
just keeps going.
Damn.
Alcoholism. Yay.
Rory.
Yay, booze.
Yeah. And so we were joking like, oh, you got to have the Metropolitan. And it's true. Band camp in Mid-Ohio are like, that's where those bikes are shining. Oh, man. So, yeah, I've got a number of bikes I want to sell. And I figure I'll just take like 4 or 5. And this way, if I sell one, I'll still have 3 to ride. If I sell 2, I'll still have 2 to ride.
Yep.
And my goal is not to bring home anything in my pants or in the form of a motorcycle. Yeah, that's my goal. Is anybody looking to buy? Yeah, what are you looking to buy?
Of course.
I want a C70 trike.
Oh, we've seen one, every year.
Yeah.
We've seen
And
one.
a black and white one.
Yeah, and it's tastefully done.
Yes.
too. Yeah, it's tastefully done.
I want
Is
that
that
so
just
badly.
totally fabricated?
I have no idea,
Okay.
but I want one so bad.
Because the front of it is a passport, and the back of it is the only thing dumber than a passport. An old person's trike. Like, it is literally a geriatric person's trike. The
I
back
love
of
that
it
thing.
is, yeah.
They're a lot of fun.
My grandma and grandpa had matching ones at Wilder's Trailer Park in Chardon, Ohio, which was all senior citizens in their tornado bait. Yeah, that's all it was, man. But yeah, I've seen that damn thing running around, and that does have your name all over it. Yeah. I'm jonesing so hard for Mid-Ohio. When I was at the auction last month, I actually sat through 25 or 30 golf carts because I just wanted to know where the price was. I just was like, golf carts is something I don't know fuck all about, and so I was like, well, gas versus electric, and I can tell you, in the used market, in the wholesale market, gas and electric doesn't mean one fucking bit of difference in the price.
Got those Kubota diesels, so those RV 900s or those RV 1100s.
Is that in some regular golf cart, or do you have to get into some weird
No,
fancy
It's,
shit
it's,
to do that?
no, it's like they
Work
had one
utility
at that.
vehicle.
Yeah, it's a work utility. It's
Oh,
got
okay.
a dump bed.
It's
and
not a
everything
real
else.
golf cart.
Oh yeah.
But it's almost like a mule, like a Kawasaki mule.
I'm talking about actual golf carts. Yeah.
But you can take the doors off, you can
Yeah.
take the cab apart, and so it's open like a golf cart,
Right.
except it doesn't have the reverse seats. It's got a dump bed or a flat bed. Or
Yeah, so
whatever.
that actually has a lot of practical application.
Oh, it does.
A golf cart's just to get drunk.
Plus, it's a 3-cylinder diesel.
Yeah, if I was something like that, I'll buy a Kai truck.
Possibly pull
A
two chariots
dump
at
bed.
once.
Exactly. That's the goal. Bar raised. Yeah. So you're looking to buy a 3-wheeled Passport. I usually tell people at AMA Vintage Days, I have my unicorn bike. Is like, this year I'm looking for a. So one year I was looking for a
Have
CT110,
that conversation again.
right? And I found it, right? And I
Thank you.
can't remember.
Thanks,
right.
Bill.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't remember if last year I had. This year I'm looking for a. Oh yeah, well this
Oh yeah, we
because we
was that
scored.
last year?
Was that last year? I think it was. So last year we did. We got the
was
RV.
it year before?
I think it was last year. It
Yeah,
was last
well,
year.
the RV was mine.
Right.
Yours was
I can't remember. What was mine?
Yamaha
The TDM?
T.
Yeah, the TDM.
850.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the TDM. That was last year. Yeah,
and you found both of them.
I did. We managed to find both of them. We did good. So like, I got to figure out what the unicorn bike's going to be for this year because
It's
there's always
all-
got to be a unicorn.
It's
bike.
all there.
It's all there. You just got to be willing to scratch beneath the
I'm
surface.
seriously thinking of taking.
Mhm.
I still have that 550 Suzuki sitting around.
Yeah,
I'm
take
gonna
it.
make it run, take
Yeah.
it, and in a perfect world, I would love to be able to sell it for enough to purchase,
Yeah.
or trade it for a decent Trail 70 for
Sure.
my kid.
Perfect. Well, that's
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what Mid Ohio was built for. You could put a pie plate on the front of that thing, put
Everybody
a paper plate
wants
on it, ride it around, do
gold.
4 laps, and then park it in the middle where
Yeah.
everybody does the drive-bys.
yeah,
And put your price out there and your phone number because that seems to work the best for me.
trade for one Trail 70.
I sold a lot of garbage last year, and I was thinking about,
Last year was the year for you. You sold 4 of them fuckers.
we sold 4 Trail 70s in like an
Yep.
hour and a half or something. Yeah, it was like, yeah,
Those are hot, though.
they were
70s.
super, they were super hot. We didn't go under $1,000 on any one of them.
people, a couple
But
of
I think
Chinese
the monkeys
scooters.
are going to put a kink in that.
Oh, I think the monkeys are gonna. I think the monkey being available at. Well, it's okay. We'll get to that when we get to that. So
That's
so-
exactly what the
Yeah.
new Beetle did in 1998 to the vintage Beetle market.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Really?
It did.
Yeah.
And same with the minis.
I wouldn't imagine the same person would be interested in
Yeah.
Yeah.
New Beetle versus Airheads. I mean,
Well, there was quite a division there.
oh yeah.
Well, I say corporate didn't want to like embrace the old school people, but the old school people were the people that were lining up to
To buy the
buy the vintage inspired new Beetle.
Yeah.
I can tell you in the mini
Okay.
market that when those minis came out, when the new minis came out, the vintage mini market wasn't doing great. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't off the charts. But when the new minis came out, not just people but dealerships were paying stupid money for Innocenti 850s, which were like the whipping child of the mini market because they're the slowest, the least motor. They're the most interesting story. If you follow the backstory of it, it's a very interesting story. But the the idea was a car that you couldn't sell and had no hope of selling because even among mini people, it was like, dude, you do not want an Innocenti 850. That cannot go 55 miles an hour. You just forget about it. And all of a sudden, if you had an Innocenti 850 and you could hire somebody to paint a Union Jack on the roof of your Italian car,
Yeah.
you could sell it for $5,000. Right. Because it was a mini. And that's what happened in the market. And every mini out there got snacked up. Like everybody snagged a mini.
Right before I moved to
Yeah.
Milwaukee, I was just about to buy
Wow.
a Mini that just came from Australia to
Right.
Tijuana.
Yeah.
That I found randomly while just going through the lots.
You dodged a bullet
I
there.
d-
You did dodge a bullet. I'm going to tell you, I crawl under every single mini that I see, and I look at all the ones that are importable from Japan because of being a right-hand drive vehicle.
Right.
They really did like them there, and even as much as the Japanese people are known to take care of their cars and lavish a lot of attention on them, they're still rough, and it's just they can't survive.
Yeah.
It was let's just admit what it is. It wasn't
English.
a great design. It's English. Yeah, that's it. You know, it's right up there with the English space program. They got it nailed down. So, if nobody's fucking noticed the Cub and the Monkey, the new Honda Cub and Monkey, I've got the websites pulled up. Take a look at the pictures. Holy shit! The Cub is gorgeous. The blue color with the red seat. It looks absolutely like it should. It's got that same color blue that they used on the Super Hawk and the original, like the CB400F Super Sports. It's got the red seat. All the lighting is LED. Is that may or may not be ABS? I think it is ABS.
It is
front,
ABS.
Front ABS.
Front ABS.
Not rear.
Yeah,
Only
well, that's the only
front.
one that's
Yeah,
important.
it is ABS.
Yeah.
The
And-
125.
Yeah, go ahead and take us through that because you did the
Keyless
check.
ignition.
And then,
So it's a 2019 Super Cub
Does it, yeah.
C125 with ABS, and its MSRP is $3,600.
Wow.
That's what they're-
$3,600.
36. That's what they're
I
planning.
have the
on
money set aside for it already.
Yeah.
doing.
That's
Yeah.
gonna blow the
I
shit
do.
out of the scooter market.
does
It
the
is.
website
Yes.
That is gonna like reset.
It is.
But they said it's it's limited.
does the website show the
Limited to 9 million?
Cross Cub?
Yeah.
No.
The Cross Cub gives me a motor boner like I haven't had in like 20
The
years.
Cross Cub is a proper CT.
Yeah. So if they bring that out, dude,
That's not for real. That's not coming for sure. That's
No.
like
I thought it was. It is
I
not?
don't know. I'm asking. I think that's my understanding was that was like
Dealers have placed orders. I mean, dealers that I know have already placed 30 bike orders for
Super Cub.
the Super Cub and the Monkey.
Right.
The Super Cub for sure. And nobody's mentioned anything about a Cross Cub.
No.
Okay.
So
The
it's,
only
not,
thing
it's
with
not
this-
on current dealer orders.
Well, it was launched in Japan. So it's
Oh,
launched-
yeah.
And that's the
Okay.
thing. So for some of the stuff, there's also another Super Cub
Pro.
Pro
Yeah.
that's also only marketed in Japan that has the basket in the front with the weird light on
Yeah.
front of the basket.
Really?
On
So-
the lower side. LEDs,
Right.
but it's still in
Nice.
front of the
Yeah, the
basket.
So
headlight-
Honda's like
And
dangling
a
the
rack in the
carrot to
back.
see if America's going to be like, yes.
And instead
then-
of the headlight being mounted to the handlebars in traditional fashion, which you had cargo in the front of the bike, you couldn't see. You just see the light
Yeah,
on the
It's
cargo.
all the way in the front.
So all the there's a Liberty that we saw when we were in Italy, and it's an electric Liberty, but it's a delivery Liberty. So we called it the Deliberty. And, but it said the same thing. It had a large cargo area in the front, and then it had the headlight mounted like down in the front fender, so that the headlight was aiming where you were aiming.
So it's like one
Which is
is like that,
convenient.
like that.
Yeah, Farabasso. Yeah.
Yep.
And but also it had that large cargo area over the front wheel, so you're not wasting all that space. And it looks like the
Pro.
Honda Cub Pro,
Yeah.
and then they did a 14-inch wheel. So rather than the traditional 16-inch wheel, they dropped it down to a
14.
little bit of a chubbier looking 14-inch wheel.
Yep.
Quite something.
Are they 17s or 16s?
It was 17s.
16s.
17s.
Oh, 17s?
It's
Okay, yeah.
from 17s to 14s.
Okay.
The only thing that I did notice is that the Super Cub only comes in the one color.
Yeah,
The
blue.
colors,
Blue,
just
or
the
blue? Oh, wow.
Just, that's the
Holy
only
shit.
color. The Monkey is the only one that comes with two colors.
Right, and one of the two colors has ABS.
Yes,
the red one.
the red one has ABS,
Yeah.
Is
and
that-
then there's the yellow.
Baboon butt red.
Yes, it is baboon butt
They
red.
had a special name for it. I didn't write it
I
down.
think that
but
was the
it
color
yeah.
code. I don't think it's Honda Glory Red.
Yeah.
It's
I think
it's
Honda
it has a
baboon
special
ass
name,
red.
and they have the banana yellow.
Banana yellow.
Banana yellow
Of
is the
course,
other
yeah.
one,
Right.
and that does not have the ABS.
Hence the monkey. You got to
Yeah,
have
it's the
banana
monkey.
and baboon ass. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But both of them. So now, how much more expensive was the monkey than the Cub?
So the Cub is 3,600.
Yeah.
The yellow non-ABS Monkey is $4,000.
Okay. What does it cost to throw ABS on there and get it red?
$200.
Oh, so $200 you got red and ABS.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's worth it for $200.
Damn, for $200. Yeah.
For 4,200 though, how much better of that is than the Spade?
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
I'm on record right now.
Just by the looks
I'm
of
going
it.
on
Doesn't
record
matter.
right now
Yeah.
in podcast land.
Yeah.
Any Honda dealer
Yeah.
notifies me immediately. I will pay sticker price
Yeah.
for the first Monkey you have
Right.
in red with ABS.
But you see, the problem is,
Serial number 00001.
No, I don't care.
but that's the thing is, there will be people that are saying, I will go 1,000 over.
Right.
You know, and there are dealers who will go.
Take that back to when the new Beetle came out.
Exactly.
The new Volkswagen Beetles.
Yep.
Dealers were gouging on those, and
Same with Ducati Scramblers.
also, I don't know if this is a fact, but it's my interpretation
Right.
that the new Beetle saved Volkswagen. They were at like a low point,
Sure.
and then that was like the turnaround, and now they're like a.
And it got a lot of people who never drank the Volkswagen Kool-Aid before, a lot of soccer moms, a lot of people that just weren't into VW. They went, oh, it's adorable.
Yeah.
There's a Bud vase on the dash.
I was going to say,
I know,
it is
yeah.
a dash. It is
I'll
a
tell
face
you,
on the dash.
Bud base.
My
Not
very
that
first-
kind.
the very first motorized vehicle I ever had with my paper out money
Yeah.
was a 1970 or 69.
Yeah.
I think it was 70. Z50A Mini Trail.
Oh, really?
And that bike, the Monkey,
Is that bike?
it is that bike. The
But
color,
it's 125 cc.
Yeah.
it's bigger, but it looks the same.
Well, it's better.
Now I'm like, I'm not the kid saving my paper out
Right.
money anymore. I'm a guy with a job, and I
Right.
can afford it, and I'll buy it. Put it in front of me right now. I will
Right.
buy it.
Of course.
So
you park it
and-
on your sidewalk.
Look.
Yeah, don't park it on the sidewalk.
No, but you can park it
Oh,
next
no,
to
I-
mine.
oh, you
I'll
can
buy
totally
one too, right?
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
under 100.
I've-
Very
one-
rarely
yeah.
would I. There are very few opportunities where I look at something and go, stupid impulse buy.
Right.
I will put off having my teeth worked on another year so I can buy that stupid fucking bike that I don't need.
Well, we started the podcast tonight by saying while we're driving, I rode a Honda Ruckus
Right.
up here tonight.
Yeah.
And that's like the dark bike of the century. But I love it because I love
Right.
Honda. I love the dependability. I love the practicality of it.
Right.
And this new Monkey bike, it's like takes me back to my youth.
Right.
And it also has the practicality of the Ruckus with
More
like
motors.
modern retro cool.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
I love it.
You pitch it right down the middle, and I'm going to hit it out of the park.
I don't know
Yeah.
whether I would like. My problem is the Cub makes more sense. The monkey bike is more fun.
Buy
Yes.
both.
And buy both, exactly. One for each foot.
Yeah.
The Cub to me doesn't speak to me.
Right.
The Monkey speaks to me because
'Cause you have it.
that's the bike that I saved my paper out money for a whole fucking year to buy that
Buy
bike.
that bike. Yeah.
And you know what? This is the other side of the story. Somebody broke in my garage and stole that bike from me when I was a kid. So my whole life I've been lusting
Yeah,
after
looking
the
for
Honda
that
Z50s. I've had a number of Z50s,
Right.
Z50As, Z50Rs, whatever.
And this is the Z50 Ultimate.
And this is the Z50 Ultimate.
Nick,
right.
what do you think about it?
Well, I'm wondering if it's like physically larger than the because I know the engine's bigger.
The engine's bigger and the wheels are bigger.
I think it's
I
probably
think-
the size of a Grom.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Yeah,
makes
it's
sense,
going to be
yeah.
like a 2/3
Yeah.
scale bike, I think.
And I think that
I think it's the size of the Spade. I think
Yeah.
it's equivalent to that.
Right.
well, and
I think that's
everything
what
I've
it's
read
gonna
about
be.
it so far says that a lot of Grom running gear.
Pete's gonna buy this bike, and
Yeah.
a week later, somebody's gonna break into his garage.
I apologize.
So the original Z50, the original monkey bikes,
Sorry,
they were
Yeah,
very
it's-
small. I mean, if you ever ridden one,
Oh, it's-
as a full-size adult riding an original monkey bike, they're fucking tiny. They're smaller than a
And they'll
CT70.
leave you your old
They're smaller than a Trail 70. They're small. And when you and your brother were riding around Mid-Ohio, it was kind of hilarious. But this is going to be bigger. This is going to be proportionally bigger,
Right.
so that, like you said, a lot of the running gear comes out of the ground.
To fit all the people that grew up with the original.
I was going to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
they didn't get smaller.
Right.
You guys, how many at this table remember that one shot of the two fattest guys in
Yes.
the world
Oh, yeah,
On the Trail 7.
Trail
That
7,
would
yeah.
be the McGuire
McGuire
twins.
brothers.
McGuire
No,
brothers.
that's
Yeah.
McGuire or something.
That was a famous. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
There was no internet back then, and yet
No.
all of us saw that picture.
Of course.
Okay, I grew up
Yeah.
like 30 miles west of here. Midway Mall was like the big thing. They came to Midway Mall. It was like part of like a publicity stunt.
What?
And yeah, people went to see them. You know, it was like
Yeah.
the fat guys. You know.
In the checkered shirts
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
flags.
And I love the glasses. I love the
The McGuire twins.
I love the
It was
lamb
McGuire.
chops.
Okay,
I love
yeah,
the lamb chop sideburns.
And a
the
lot
glasses.
of the pictures are definitely on Trail,
Trail
70s.
Yeah.
I want to say the bikes they rode to officially get the record were in
Yeah.
ST90s.
Oh, yeah?
because they were They were lace spoke. They were bigger wheels.
Sweet Jesus, those are big people. Holy shit. The one picture looks like he put handlebars on his dick. Honestly, he's never seen his dick, so yeah.
Oh yeah, they're
Oh
definitely.
my God, those are big humans.
Can we make an appeal to whoever stole Pete's Z50 40
to
years
bring it
ago?
back?
40 years ago?
To just bring it back and leave it out front of clearing mud.
Oh no.
And actually, I think in that picture, the boys have lost some weight.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think this
Yeah.
is after they've
I'm gonna
realized.
say that's on the way up. That's not like they're not. They're not losing weight. That's
Yeah, but think about this. How iconic are those guys in that picture that we all, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, there was no internet, there was no sharing
Well,
stuff.
No.
because
We
there
all
was
saw
no
those
internet.
pictures.
There was the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yep. Yeah,
and
that
that's
was
where
the
they
book.
were.
Yeah,
I
that
remember
was-
like looking through that Guinness Book of World Records and thinking like,
I
this
want to
is
say 76 or 7 was the first year that they made it into the Guinness Book.
Yeah, it was
I
a
think.
while ago.
What's the load rating on those bikes?
We see one McGuire. It's a unit of measurement. That's one McGuire. It is less than two McGuires.
Yeah, they had negative two inches of suspension travel at that point.
Yeah,
but-
I mean,
yeah.
Those bikes can be so overloaded. It's unbelievable.
It's
Yeah.
one
They're
McGuire
tanks.
or a Filipino family.
My wife and I ride my C70,
Yeah.
and we're not small people.
But the point is that also a Vietnamese family of 7 can ride that.
Right.
With all their home furnishings?
And
Yeah.
with 10 pigs
Oh,
strapped
yeah.
to the back.
The impossible loads that we've all seen.
Oh, I have a whole
Carry-
book of the impossible loads on C7 or on cars. I didn't know there's a book of pictures. It's about 3/4 of an inch wide,
Yeah.
and every page is an impossible load on the cuff.
And once again,
Bikes and
Steve's
burdens.
telling us impossible love
bikes of
stories.
burden. Yeah, bikes of burden or something. Yeah.
Every load's possible. You just have to believe.
So what were the specs on those bikes? There were 4-stroke.
Yeah, they're 4-stroke.
Air-cooled.
They're a 2-valve motor, so it's a standard
two-valve.
traditional 125 motor.
Fuel injected.
They're fuel injected,
injected.
which is fantastic.
Centrifugal
Sign me
clutch.
They're strokers.
And they're still the semi-automatic gearbox.
Yes.
So they're
Well,
still.
I thought the Monkey was manual.
No, they're all
isn't?
centrifugal
I
clutch.
think they're just they're traditional semi-automatics.
Yep.
Yeah, you can look it up. The internet's in front of you.
We have
But
it's
I'm
locked. Okay.
no, just click that.
But it does look. If you look at the pictures, they look. Even if they're bigger, they look at scale for
They
the
look
original one.
fantastic.
If you just look at
They
the
did
pictures,
such a
like
good
it's,
job.
it's exactly the old
And
one.
I love that everything is LED.
Yes,
I love that.
the
that little
dashboard.
digital dash.
Yeah.
Is very tidy.
So, looking at the manufacturers, and because Honda listened to the adventure guys and brought out they're bringing out the 450L or whatever it is, right?
And we should talk about that for a
And
second.
they're bringing out the monkey bikes and
Right.
stuff. Is
Got a
Honda
clutch
the
lever.
is it? What's that?
Are you sure it's not that dummy double brake thing?
It says it's wet
got a clutch.
multiple wet clutch.
Which
What
one?
the heck?
The monkey.
On the monkey.
The
So the
Cub,
passenger.
So
the
the
Cub
Cub
is
the Cub is the
automatic.
centrifugal.
Yeah,
Yes,
the Cub's
semi-automatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So-
is
so-
Honda going to be the one that actually listens to what people actually want?
Well, it may be something to do with that. The other thing is that is the 60-year anniversary of the Super Cub.
Yeah.
So it started in 1958.
60-year anniversary.
60 year
of Super
and
Cup.
100 million sold. Wow. 100 million cubs.
100. That's more than a million
after
a year.
60
And I have
years.
4 of
No,
them.
but where do most of those live, though? Do you think?
Southeast
Asia.
Asia.
Right?
Yeah, China.
Well, yeah. I mean, I figured, but I'm just saying, like,
I mean, hey, if you're
India.
riding your Super Cub down the street and you jump off the seat, it goes to Southeast Asia. Yeah, I mean it just goes to visit its people.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Being used as livery vehicles over there.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the
They
whole.
had- when they threw it off
You
the-
don't see one with less than like 4 people on it.
Right, exactly.
They had a video of somebody throwing it off a 4-story building.
Yeah,
and they
that
got
was
out.
that was the
a-
special that
yeah.
they did with Richard Branson, Sir Branson. And they did it with Sir Branson because he was doing a Doctors Without Borders thing. And
Yeah.
they were doing a charity event where they were outfitting a number of doctors with Super Cubs. And they were showing how durable they were, and they threw it off of like a 4-story building onto concrete. And they threw it off a 4-story building onto concrete, and they picked it up and fired it up and drove it away. They're like, well, there you go. So I guess there's the Toyota. There's the Toyota Hilux, and then there's the Honda Passport. So
Didn't the same thing happen with the Volkswagen, the Beetle? Wasn't also like an anniversary for the Volkswagen?
when they brought out the new Beetle,
Yeah.
I don't know if they did that in conjunction with something big because
The new Beetle came out in 1998.
the new Beetle came out in
Which
'98.
was really not
So it's
a
probably not
big
close to-
significant anniversary.
It was 6 years after Adolf signed the paper.
Yes, it was.
Well, what was the first? What was the first year they
Adolf
officially
didn't sign
important?
much
58.
paperwork, I'll tell you that.
No. 52
Yeah.
maybe.
It would have been significant if they
38.
brought out the thing.
39.
The thing only lasted from 72 to 74.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing.
I'd still buy a thing.
Now, anybody at
That should
VW
not
that
be
hears
in
that,
parentheses
I
at
would
the
buy
end.
it. If they brought out a new thing, I would buy that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, but at that point,
Well,
I mean, that makes Honda Elements look swoopy.
yes,
I mean,
exactly.
the thing is brick of bricks.
Yeah, but
What other brand would you? I mean, like Honda has this iconic
Yeah.
the Cub. For what other brand
Oh,
would you
it's-
want them to bring back from an old, like a
Oh,
Kawasaki?
a tribute, an actual real tribute. Because right now they're doing the Kawasaki Z1. They're doing another, Kawasaki KZ 900, 900cc. And I mean, we saw it at the motorcycle show. And when it was all fucking retro fitted to look old, it was kind of convincing. But when you saw it the way it comes out of the dealership, it wasn't as convincing anymore. It was like, look, here's what it could look like if we put on $3,000 worth of make it look old.
But BMW could come out with something with Rolls forks.
Yeah, they
That was
could.
fuel injected R60.
They have a fuel injected R,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or any
yeah,
Suzuki
an R69,
or anything?
yeah,
Yeah.
R69.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what killed the Volkswagen Beetle. They couldn't make it emissions compliant with catalytic converters
Right.
with the air-cooled motor.
Yeah, the
so
CAFE
they-
standards
yeah.
were just
Yeah.
so high that the standards had gotten to the point where the car was, and it's the same reason a lot of things left actually in that era. That's why we didn't see Vespas after 1981, because keeping them compliant would have cost more than it was to build the bikes.
But if you just jerry-rig the software, then you pass all.
Back then, software,
And that was brilliant.
that was a different problem.
Oscar had a pretty good point, though. Is there any other manufacturer you can think of, that had that as
really
a
iconic,
as a
right.
tiny little kid you wanted at bikes they're bringing them back or that they'd want them back?
Well,
Well, BMW.
you got to give Harley the props. Harley kept air-cooled
Yes, they did.
shit. How did they get around
But
it?
there isn't, well,
But their bikes are still the same.
we'll talk
bikes
about
they
that in
made
part
in-
two of our show.
Yeah.
Your
I'd
pleasure.
segue.
Part
So
two.
you have to give
Yeah.
them props. That
Right.
That's the same thing that killed Volkswagen, and that's the same thing that
But
killed.
the only thing I can think
Vespa?
of in regard to what Arthur's saying is
Right.
if they brought back a vintage RM80 or
Right.
something like that, like to give it that like old school nostalgic kind of, because like as a kid that's all I wanted. My,
Oh, you
Or
just,
the-
you
that was
wanted an
seriously-
R80.
RM80.
That
From the
was
time
the-
I was like
yeah.
11 till whatever, RM80 was what I wanted. That was
Look
it.
at the Bonneville.
Two things
they
going
try to
against
do
you.
the same thing.
That's a good example. The Bonneville is an excellent example
Yeah.
because the new Bonneville from the Triumph Real Estate Company was a dead to fucking nuts ripoff
Yeah.
of the Bonneville from Coventry. So that difference, the Hinckley Bonneville and the Coventry Bonneville, like that is a great example of somebody going, we are like visually replicating. The GB500, they were replicating a bike they didn't build. They were replicating
Well,
two different bikes and shoved them
WR650.
together. Yep, exactly. Yes.
And if you want a good Bonneville, you buy one of those.
Right. If you want a really good Bonneville, buy a WR650. Absolutely. And I think looking at motorcycles, like as a thing, yes, the Cub is the perfect bike, and just like the Harley, they've never stopped building. So the Harley, no matter how many retro editions of Harley they come out with, a Moo Glide or whatever the hell,
The
I just
Moo Glide.
I'm waiting for the Harley Davidson Nouveau Pan. So that all these hipsters right now that can only say one word, pan, 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 pan,
Say
pan, pan,
pan or
pan.
pin?
Springer Heritage Softail was a 48 pan.
It sure was.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it was made to look like a
And
48
it did,
pan.
especially in military livery. Those things were confusing. They looked like a WLA. They were so confusing, and they never stopped making it. They
Hey,
just
no
never-
side laughing.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to laugh.
Step Brothers reference there. For the uninitiated.
side chuckling.
That was so funny.
But what's the? I mean, the TW200 still kicking around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
man.
still kicking around.
Yeah. Suzuki brought back the
87,
Van Van.
86.
Suzuki brought back the Van Van.
Yeah.
Excellent example.
Yep,
There
yep.
you go.
Yeah, the Van Van came around. That's
Suzuki's
a
the
good-
Harley of Japan.
Is it?
Yeah, because all their bikes that they made 20, 30
Still
years
making them
ago,
today.
they're still making them.
I would,
The
you know what?
DR650.
I got
They've been
one.
saving millions of dollars, so they haven't
I
had
got
an
one.
R&D department for years.
Oh, Chrome's got one.
I got one. I would love to see, and I don't know if I would buy one because I don't know if I could afford to buy one, but I would love to see a retro-looking katana.
Oh, a Gen 1 katana.
Oh, yeah,
Gen
yeah.
1.
Gen 1 katana.
82.
A straight up Gen 1 katana.
All right,
Yep.
Honda could bring back the original Interceptor. That would be nice. A nice 500 or 1000,
Yeah.
like the 84 Interceptor.
You know what's funny is we joked. I mean, you joked my nightmare. I hated '83. Like, if you want to ask me when did motorcycling as a whole just phone it in and just completely just be like, you know what? We've used up all the good ideas.
Yeah.
We've discovered this new substance called plastic.
Yeah.
Let me show you all the fun things you can do with plastic. And we're not allowed to make motorcycles actually go fast anymore. So we're just going to put different shapes of plastic on them to confuse you, like German scatter camouflage. And every fucking motorcycle had like, let's take square gauges with round sweeps. And
Yeah.
we'll put plastic on top of plastic and some more plastic over here.
Square
We'll-
headlight.
Yeah. Yes. Fake louvers. We'll have louvers that go nowhere, all over the place.
Gas tank that sweeps into the side panels.
Yes, the gas tank that goes into the
But
side
they
panels.
continued that
Right.
because I had an 87 Honda Hurricane
Right.
back in 1988, and it took me like 14 hours to change the oil because you had to take off
Exactly.
every body panel to
Right.
get to the motor.
Well, and you know that the father of the PC800.
Yeah.
That's what happens when there's too many body panels
Yeah.
laying around, and they just like
Well,
that's
that was like a space shuttle. That's how
that was truly a space shuttle. But back to like the first time I saw a Honda CB750 Custom, and in gorgeous two-tone blue with blue and different shades of blue, metallic blue with gold pinstriping between the blue, and it had blue fucking mags on it. And I saw this thing, and I looked at that thing, and I saw that fat girl seat on it, that king and queen step seat, and I saw this dual overhead cam motor, and I was like, what the fuck, man? Did Honda accidentally back over a Harley Davidson and have to come up with some sort of compensation package? We're like, who the fuck were they talking to that said every bike should look like a Harley? And they went, but all we have is this inline V4 motor, or this inline 4-cylinder motor. Okay, well, just do Harley on everything else. So don't do Harley on the motor. Do Harley on every other part of the bike, but leave the motor to be a Honda motor. And I looked at that bike and I went, fuck, what committee designed this piece of shit? And then at 85 mile an hour speedometer. And then realized, they're satisfying some stupid EPA thing or safety thing. And then I jumped on the bike and went, no, 85 is optimistic.
Well, yeah, that's when everything was
On a
like 18 or something.
CB750 dual overhead cam motorcycle with 4 goddamn carburetors, and it's doing this at 85 miles an hour. And like shit is making weird noises and it's not happy. And it's
So
got,
lean. I think they all were lean.
They were garbage. And that motorcycle was shit. And if you parked it in the rain, the igniters would fry, so you didn't have sparks anymore. Because that's more modern and stuff.
That's
It was fucking horrible, man. And they were like, front page of Cycle World magazine, world's fastest motorcycle. It was a Honda CB1000 10-speed. Yet again, the same fucking ugly motorcycle it was as a CB750 Custom, but with shaft drive and a low range and high range. Fucking garbage. Like, who got paid to design that shit? Like, who did they say, you know what Americans are really going to like? Something that is an imposter.
Being lied to.
Yeah, they love being lied to.
Maybe somebody
Absolutely.
lost a bet and had to design it.
Oh, fucking! I hated all those bikes. And even when the Interceptor came out, when the Interceptor first came out, it was just all the plastic, and there was a motorcycle under there somewhere, and it had square tubing, I was like, square tubing. Now
It
that's
had gear-driven
interesting.
cams, though.
But yeah, and that was the thing, was that motor was just like, oh god, that motor. And you looked at blown up pictures of that motor, and we're just like, well, nobody's ever going to work on one of those. that's just it. There's pins and springs and shit. There's pins that go into springs. I've never seen that before. I didn't even know you could do that. How the hell do you have a helical hollow ground spring? How is that even a fucking thing? How does that even work? And it goes 12,000. What are you? No, that's alien technology. That's not real.
I like to see a retro bike that has
Yeah.
a longitudinal 4.
Oh, yeah. You and
It's
Meckle
water
Fresh, man.
cooled now. No, because
You
it's
and Meckle
water
Fresh.
cooled now.
Yeah,
It
you
does
both
all
like
those
it.
problems.
Yeah, I
you
dig
do.
it. I dig it. I'd love to see a Cleveland tornado, but
Well, and that's
I mean,
No, I'm just saying.
idea is, quit chasing the goddamn 45. Quit chasing a 45V twin
Yeah.
because everyone else has rubbed their dick on it. I mean, name a company that hasn't, for fuck's sake. You know,
Odaka.
Suzuki, got it. Right.
Oh, there's my retro, a Road Toad.
Road Toad.
I always wanted a
Combat
Road Toad,
Wombat.
never had one.
Yeah,
Had a
Combat
Wombat.
I like,
Had
I
an
like
Ace-
Starburst
had an
heads.
Ace
The
100.
Starburst heads are the coolest.
The Starburst heads are great. It's like, dude, you're like,
Those were
it's all fin.
Those weren't Hondakas. But
no, that was Emler, Doug Emler, which went on to be DG.
Yeah, the aftermarket
Radial heads.
radial heads,
Yep.
where you're like, is there a piston in there, or is it all just cooling?
DG Gold head.
DG
And
Gold
then
head, yeah.
they changed them up a little, and instead of having solid fins all the way up, they split them. They call it porcupine.
Porcupine
heads.
heads. Yes,
Yep.
those are fucking cool, man. Yeah, because you know
If
what?
If
You
you
know
had
what?
a porcupine head
Yeah.
and lay down Fox shocks on your Elsinore, you were the fucking
You were the
king.
coolest guy in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? And then Yamaha came out 1 year later and made all of that obsolete. The first time I saw a monoshock, I went, oh shit, I see how that works. And I was like, well, everything else looks very stupid right now. And I was 9. I was like 9 years old, and I was like, well, this pretty much changes everything. And that was the same way I felt the first time I saw a set of actual air shocks. Like, remember the front,
Yeah.
the inflated shocks? The first time I saw a set of those, I was like, well, that's smarter than oil and springs.
until you put 1 psi too much in it.
Well, until time. But the dudes that had them at the time, man, those guys could do anything. That shit was incredible. But I do think, and even if looking at automotive stuff, the Volkswagen Beetle did have a triumphant return. All of that bullshit Dodge stuff, whether it was a Prowler or a PT Cruiser or whatever, all that
V8.
stuff, people went crazy for it. The Camaros, everybody's going crazy for that shit
HHR.
right now. HHR.
HHR.
Yep. Everybody's going crazy for retro right now.
How about the
Man.
triumphant return of the Fiat 500?
Yes, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Here we go.
Made a-
But you know what though? Here's the
Chevy.
thing though. So like when Mini brought the first they brought the Mini Cooper out in what 2002 or something
Yeah,
like the
something
year
like
right
that.
there. They did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But then 5 years later they started to fuck it up, and
Yeah.
then now like 10 years later, and it's all fucked up, and it's just
So
stupid.
now they're like buses.
It
Yeah,
looks like a
it's-
fucking SUV.
It
man.
is. It's just they
Well,
ruined
you
it.
have seen the Cinquecento Maxi, whatever that fucking 500L is.
Yeah.
When Merritt's blew up, we took it to the shop and they gave us a 500L as a loaner. So first of all, it's the same motor in a much larger chassis, fantastically larger, and it came with and it had the CVT transmission in it. So that was one of those things that when you mash the pedal, noise happened,
Yeah.
and then
That's my way to go.
later you get some acceleration. Yeah,
Movement.
but it was not good.
But that's my point, I guess, is that so nostalgia only goes so
Yeah.
far.
Right.
And so some of these companies try to milk that nostalgia a little too far. And how much can you
yeah.
push the design elements and stuff? So when the 2002 Mini came out, it was like a modern version of the smaller one, and it worked, and it was
Right.
pretty sexy. I had one for a while, I loved it. It was a
Yeah.
great car.
Oh, yeah.
But then as it went on, it just they've bilked it and biggered it and grossed it, and it doesn't. Now I have no nostalgia toward it. And I look at the new one and I'm like, yeah, it's a fucking Ford Flex.
Exactly.
We hear, we hear all like Motorhead guys. We like
Right.
appreciate like the original, and we see like how it's morphed into what it is. But there's other people that just see like the pretty package.
Right.
It's like put in front of them, and they're like, consume this,
But,
and,
but,
and
but
they
that's
just
my
consume
point.
it.
How long? Like, how many new people are out there? Like, if you're presenting something that has lineage to something. How much can you get away with before the people that enjoy the lineage are like, "Fuck you"?
Exactly.
I don't-
Right,
yeah,
right,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, I like how Mini is. Well, Mini is the brand, whereas the Countryman or the Clubman, those are different models. What I don't like about Fiat is that everything has to be a 500.
Well, and that comes down to this idea behind the motor selection of the car,
Yeah.
and also we did drive a Fiat Panda in Italy, and I loved the car. I mean, we abused that thing the way you should abuse a rental car with 4 people in it, and we went everywhere in it, and we went, over hill, over dale, over curb, over, parking bollard. We drove the car the way the car is meant to be driven in an urban environment, and it was fantastic. There was plenty of room. It handled well. It drove well. It was great. I do think that the Fiat that we had here in America that popped a head gasket at 50,000 miles, I think that car may have suffered from Americanization. I think that in its home design, its home country, its home platform, it's probably really, really good.
Right.
But you also can't tell me that as the owner of the car, when I contact my dealer and say, look, my car has 1,000 miles on it, I need to bring it in for an oil service. And they tell me, no, you wait for the oil service light to come on. And I said, no, I'm not at all cool with that. It is still an internal combustion engine. We need to change the life-giving blood out of that motor now that it's had some break-in. No,
You have to get
you
all
wait
those
until the
metal
light
bits
come on.
that
Well, and so,
Luigi left in there.
right, and the end result is I got furious and I was like, when is that light going to come on? And they said 6,000 miles for your first oil change. And I said, that is unacceptable. I can't believe that's good engineering. I just fucking can't. And this is going to happen forever. I'm driving the Honda Beat, so as long as I'm going to own a Honda Beat, people are going to take pictures of it in front of the shop. And that's why I moved it from over where it was, where we couldn't see it, to over here where we could see it. More pictures have been taken of that car than a heroin-filled Elvis. It's ridiculous. That car is a fucking camera fly, but I do think that there's something that gets lost in the translation when you bring something from its home market here, and it has to meet our rules and play by our games. And I
They
think it's
put
all
ugly blinkers on everything.
It's just
They
every
get rid of
part
the
car.
cool side markers. I mean, why? What's so wrong with
Pete,
side
what
marker
happened
lights?
to the smart car between America and Europe? Between Europe and America?
They dumped it down.
Well, I think in the urban environment, it was a very good fit. But you get into the
Open road.
suburban or open road environment.
Well, just list the differences between the smart car that you could buy in Europe and the smart car that you couldn't buy in Europe. The smart car you could only buy in America. Turbo diesel engine,
Not available.
not available in America.
Right.
What 72-inch wheelbase?
Not available.
Not available in America.
Hayabusa motor. Not available in America.
But yeah, they changed a lot of things on the Smart, and it wasn't as fun anymore. You couldn't park them sideways. Like in Europe, that was the selling feature of smart cars. You could literally park the thing sideways.
Do the wheels turn or something?
No, you could pull into a parking lot sideways.
It was long as a car is wide.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so you
So
could
you could
So
just literally
short,
pull it in
yeah.
and be between two normal cars.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you could fit 4 smart cars into 2 parking spots.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with an American
Because of the bumpers.
because they made
or
it
something?
longer. No, they actually made the chassis longer.
Did you ever see the crash tests? There's the I just it was one of those YouTube loops that popped up.
With the Mercedes.
No, this was like they had a crash barrier and they had remote control smart car or remote control some American tiny car and whatever. And the American car was much larger, but it was still the compact American car. They did 70 miles an hour into like these cement barriers, and the American car hit it, and everything crushed into a ball, and like the whole cockpit was just completely destroyed and everything. And then they did the smart car, and the smart car hit it, and the cockpit area actually survived. Everything else blew off. The roof blew off this way, and all the energy was exerted outward, and the car slid this way. Where the American car went and hit the thing and went over it and like kind of blow through the whole thing and everything.
They had one with a Mercedes, like a big bat, like a big body Mercedes hitting a smart car.
Yeah.
Oh.
That thing just bounces totally across the room, but
It
like you
literally
said,
becomes a soccer ball.
right?
Yeah,
but the passenger compartment was totally intact.
Right, so all the people
Nobody
that were
got
like,
hurt.
"Oh, you're going to die in a smart car," they actually
Yeah.
engineered it. That's
Well, isn't
like,
the smart car supposed to be Mercedes and Swatch watches?
Well, that wasn't
The
that
interior
original
was
deal?
smart,
Yeah.
and smart, and Mercedes was the
Yeah,
actual.
but it's a very, very safe car.
yeah.
It's like that's what they put like space probes into land on Mars. Drop a smart car, and the
cage.
thing rolls out of it.
Drop a smart
That'd be
car.
kind of cool. too.
Boing, 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 boing. And yeah, that's exactly it.
So the trunk of the Tesla flying through space opens.
Yeah.
A smart
Little
car.
smart car comes out. Yeah.
And then the probes in the
That's the
smart
la-
car.
that's the
and then
landing
it's like- Yeah.
So on to our next thing, our next topic. So we have a customer coming to the shop the other day, and he's driving a 2003 Harley Davidson Fat Boy, right? It's a Harley Fat Boy.
Yeah, it's an 03.
It's a Harley Fat Boy. It's an
FLSTF,
03,
yep.
which is their 100th anniversary edition.
Yep.
So,
They have cool pinstripes.
and in our showroom, we have a 2001 Road King. We have a Road King Classics 2001. We have a Dyna Wide Glide that's a 2003. And so all these motorcycles have the same motor,
Ish.
right?
Ish.
So these are all, every single one of these is twin cam.
They're all twin cam.
They're all twin cams.
Is there any Bs?
They're all 88s, right?
They're all 88. Well, they're all 88s. The Softail, or in other words, the Fat Boy, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
is solid mount, which means the engine bolts right to the frame,
sure.
and it has counterbalancers in the cases.
Mm-hmm.
It's still twin cam, just like the others.
Right.
The dresser, the Road King there, is a rubber mount.
Okay.
The Dyna's a different kind of rubber mount.
Yes.
Kind of the same, but kind of different.
Right.
Um,
And the idea I'm trying to show is that there's three basic families of the same motor.
pretty much, yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's three there's, to me, when I look at these motors, because they were used for a fucking long time. And, Harley really hung its hat on this. And it
On the
was,
twin cams?
yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
Came out in
And-
99.
Yep.
In some
Yeah.
models, 2000 in Softails.
So this big spread, 99 to 2006 for sure.
Yep.
So this big 7-year spread, and not only is it a big 7-year spread, but it's when Harley Davidson did its strongest marketing push it's ever done in the history of the company. They were celebrating their 100th anniversary. They had financing deals like you couldn't believe, and production numbers were through the fucking roof. What had happened prior to this was there was this implied exclusivity with Harley Davidsons, where in the 90s, if you wanted one, you couldn't get them. You'd go in, you'd order your bike, you'd wait. They would upcharge you $1,000. This was all after Harley Davidson had sold the company to its employees to absorb the losses incurred with AMF, and they had a Hail Mary pass in the form of the Evo motor. And they needed to rescue something that, even among people that didn't know about Harley Davidson, had a horrible reputation for quality. I mean, everyone knew that if you had a Harley Davidson, that it was going to leak, it was going to break, it was not going to be reliable. And I remember as a teenager watching the marketing strategy go both sides of the fence. They had Malcolm Forbes out there traveling around the world on Harley Davidsons with his wealthy doctor, lawyer, billionaire friends. And then they also had 883 Sportsters you could buy for $89 a month. And they were advertising in the back of, magazines targeted at 20-somethings. So you could buy the Sportster for $39.95 or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were
Honda
for a
was-
while.
A lot of Japanese companies were hampered by a 700cc tariff. So if you wanted something bigger than a 700cc, you were going to be paying more than the Harley Davidson. So you'd go get the 883. And it was actually less money to buy the American motorcycle. And then you had this Evo motor coming out, and every person that had a pulse in the motorcycle industry was saying how fucking great the Evo motor was, the second coming of motorcycle engines, and how it had brought Harley Davidson into the 21st century. And I will say that the Evo motors that I've owned have been
It's
fantastically good.
the Evolution's arguably the best.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're going to use it as a base for performance build,
All right.
definitely the best.
Yeah. And I've always just found it to be a really good motor, and people were getting real miles out of Harley Davidsons all of a sudden. So you could count on a Harley Davidson to be reliable for cross-country trips. And Harley Davidson started building bikes that you would want to take cross-country trips on. Started putting them in the hands of these multimillionaires who are traveling around the world and traveling all over the place. And Malcolm Forbes has a fucking balloon in the shape of a goddamn FLH with Liz Taylor in the bottom, you know, and she's got her hand up him like a puppet, right? And this is the way they were. Well, and all of a sudden, in every doctor's waiting room, in every dentist's waiting room, there's a copy of Forbes magazine, and Forbes magazine is telling all the wealthy people of America, you need to go out and buy a Harley Davidson because you're not dead yet, motherfucker. You're still vital. You're still relevant.
Go buy.
As a side note,
Your pee-pee still
Go
works.
buy the Harley.
Go buy a
and
Harley.
take Lovey for a ride.
Exactly, right.
I saw one of those almost dead people on his new Harley Davidson today, right in front of me.
Today.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had a brand new Harley Davidson. He was riding about 25 miles an hour down the road.
Confirms our argument.
Dragging his feet around turns.
Confirms our argument that the marketing strategy that they were using 40 years ago
Still works.
is still working on the people they were selling to 40 years ago. So that guy probably bought his first Harley Davidson when he was 48, and he just bought another one now that he's 88.
I was pressing him on my ruckus. I'm serious. I was like right behind him, and he would not. I mean,
and
I
you
was
passed
just
him
like,
too if he wouldn't have reached
Yeah.
out and hit you with his seeing eye cane.
Come on, Pops. Move it.
So
That's exactly what I said.
yeah, and so when you've got this motor that is available in all these motorcycles. So you know we always talk about dividing Harley Davidsons into big twins and not big twins. You know that's kind of the way we kind of.
Historically, yeah, and that's a big part of that was the Motor Factory themselves doing that.
Yeah.
You know, dividing them into, you know, the Sportster. You start on the Sportsters,
Right.
and that'll, you know, learn on those, and then you can move up.
You can move up to a big twin,
You know, and
And so for this period of time, from 1999 to 2006,
Ish, yeah.
and I've looked at the auction I was at, I looked at some of my numbers, my results from that. All the motorcycles that were listed between 1999 and 2006, all the motors that would have this twin cam, all these bikes that have the twin cam motor in them, they were all selling for between $2,500 and $3,500. The high prices would be like $5,000. And these are at auction. These are dealers buying these bikes. They're going to come out, put them into the world at around $5,000. But we have friends here in town that have recently decided to drink the Harley Davidson Kool-Aid, and they've decided to trade in their sport bikes or their, you know, speed triples or whatever, and get
Specific couple. I remember seeing
well, yeah,
pictures
I
this
mean,
week.
and
Yeah.
they're just not the only ones, but
I told them they're getting old.
they are getting old. They're buying Harleys. But, and I had kind of, so this is the interesting thing is, I have heard about this failure, this fault. I've heard about it maybe 5 or 6 times in passing, but everyone kind of shook it off like, you know, it's not really a big deal. It doesn't really happen to many people. It's nothing to really worry about. But it's out there in literally millions of motorcycles. It is in millions of bikes. And the likelihood of you buying a bike that's between a 1999, which is a 20-year-old bike now, and 2006, which is a 10 or 12-year-old bike now, well, that's the prime area for finding a nice bike with 15 or 30,000 miles on it. We know that because they're in the room with us now, you know, and these are bikes that we are going to be trying to sell to people that have between 12 and 25,000 miles on them. And the story presents itself really as a guy who brings the bike, and why it got my attention was the guy's dad owned the bike. It was the only vehicle his dad has ever bought brand new. What year is the bike? 2003.
2003, yeah.
So here's a
Anniversary.
guy that in 2003, 15 years ago, made the biggest single motor vehicle purchase of his life. A brand new Harley Davidson, 100th anniversary edition, and as the son says, Dad's absolute pride and joy. Absolute pride and joy. and not a ton of miles on the bike. So clearly babied, right?
No, I even asked him. I said, "Wow, is that for real? 90-something hundred miles?"
Some
He's
of
like,
them,
"Yeah."
right? Yeah,
Which
not nearly enough miles.
I was
for the bike.
surprised that it had to
But-
come apart.
And it was his
Okay.
dad's exit vehicle. Like it was his dad's last vehicle he was buying. And he proud as shit. Like, you know, absolutely one of those things. And I'll bet you that's 60% of the big twins that got sold that year were to people who were literally buying their we have the Winnebago, now we buy the Harley.
There were a lot of people standing in line for the 100-year
Yes.
specials and the gold key package to go with and all
Yep.
the other bullshit.
And what did we know? A lot of people say that 100th anniversary marketing scheme, that 100th anniversary, let's turn the valve all the way up and produce as many Harley Davidsons as this factory
Oh.
can produce.
Even the stuff that wasn't an official anniversary edition.
Still got it.
The anniversary editions were two colors. They were either silver over black
Yep.
with a funky stripe, or they were that blue color.
Yep. Yep.
But
Everybody got
they would
badged.
gladly put
Yeah,
the badges
absolutely.
and or the gold key packge onto any
Any-
2003,
You got it.
making
Any-
it a dealer
Right.
issued. You know, it's making it a dealer. It sounds funny, but it's making it
Yeah.
a dealer issued anniversary edition.
And I know a lot of people who are dealers that say that what happened in 2003 actually drove the first nail in the coffin of the slow sales numbers of 2009. Because what had happened is they flooded their market so bad in 2003, pushing out tons of bikes, ridiculous numbers of bikes, getting people in on the thing. A friend had told me that at the 100th anniversary Harley rally in Milwaukee,
yeah.
which
The
I
gathering.
attended, the gathering,
gathering.
right? Which I attended and had one of my motorcycles in because I have a military issue serial number 4 MT500. So they paid for my meals, they paid for my hotel room to have the bike up there. He told me that they were doing a special deal at the rally, at the gathering, where giving you an obscenely good financing deal if you would sign for a Harley Davidson, a 2003 limited edition at the event right there and then.
That was the only year that I ever considered buying a Harley Davidson.
Really?
Even see there?
Holy
even
shit!
That's the only time I ever considered it because I thought
Holy
100th
shit!
anniversary, it might be worth something down
Yeah.
the road. You know, I'll ride all my other stuff and I'll just ride this, you know, occasionally. And then
So they nearly
keep it
got
nice.
you.
And I almost bought
that's-
one.
It's
But
fucking amazing.
then I came to my senses.
Right. A lot of people didn't. And
Yeah,
what
but you
happened?
were really drunk at the time.
Yeah.
I was working.
I always buy motorcycles when I drink.
I think I've vocalized
How about
this
you?
before, and I'll say it again.
Right.
I've never ridden a Harley Davidson.
Right.
I've never ever ridden a Harley Davidson.
I haven't either.
I've
Ever.
never
Not
been
one time.
I rode
attracted
yours
to
once.
it.
You did. You got to ride. You got to ride
I
the
understand
cream.
it.
You got to ride a shovel head.
Exactly. Shovelhead, yeah.
So
But
here's,
Yeah.
you've never had the desire. You've just never, not once ever.
It's not that I would like to ride one, but
Yeah.
the opportunity never presented itself. It's not like in my wheelhouse.
Right.
I've always been like a vintage Honda guy
Never
or a
have I
BMW
ever.
guy.
Yeah, like
Or
so-
I enjoy European stuff. I like some of the old Harley stuff, but it just never like somebody said, take my bike for a ride. Never,
Right.
never happened.
I take it back. I rode a Harley derivative, so I've rode Borgette
Mules.
choppers.
Oh, okay.
So those are like Harley motored things.
Yeah,
but
I
like,
don't know.
but a
No,
Harley
that's-
though.
That's
give me
not
that.
a.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But same thing with him. Like,
Roger just shows them a picture of what a Harley looks. This is where you come from.
right. Yeah. But even that said, like the motor and everything never really did anything for me. And then also, I like to do different things with bikes, and like what they can do is just so singular usually, unless like you modify
Yeah.
them. It just never appealed to me either.
I've ridden two. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
I was going to ask, Phil was making a statement that the flooding of the market with the 2003s
Yeah.
ruined them.
The ripple effect was catastrophic.
So my question is,
Yeah.
with that flooding,
Yeah.
how long is that is that market still flooded?
It is.
And so could that really be a 15-year?
Dealers in 2009 ran into a really weird situation. It was a perfect storm for the Harley dealers.
Well, we're in 18 now.
I know.
So the question is that 15 years worth of, screwing the pooch on the market?
Well, no, there's been a turn. they've done a marketing shift. They've been marketing to the black community. They've been marketing to Latino and urban communities a lot stronger, and realizing they have a current client there. One of our friends just got back from Daytona, I think it was, and she was saying that a solid 50% of the bikes that in her opinion, she felt that 50% of the Harleys down there were being driven by women. That the women were much better represented this year than ever she's seen before. And that's because Harley Davidson is working really hard in that female market, which is good. So
I heard at Harley was a no-show for 2 years at America,
I don't doubt it.
and I don't know because
And I don't think
didn't
that's
go
their
this-
market. I think they're trying to shift away from that because most millennials don't go to America.
Here's a question: Is Honda going to do the same thing with
Right.
the new Monkey
I didn't go either.
/ Cub?
Well, I think that with the Monkey Club, Monkey Cup, Monkey Cup.
We're all part of the
That's
Monkey
us,
Club.
isn't it?
Right, with the Monkey Cup, I think they've got it. I think they got lightning in a bottle because they're going to be able to sell those to millennials and to geezers.
Yep.
And I do think that's lightning in a bottle. Good for them.
But I think maybe Harley thought the same thing in 2003.
Well, and they did, and they figured being the only American brand at the time, and they also figured that owning that market that nobody could take from them. Hell, they'd sue people over the sound of motorcycles. If you produced a shirt that had a bar and shield on it, you were getting sued, and if you had a Harley tattoo, it'd better be done with Hog Ink, or they're going to sue you over that shit.
I've been
I mean,
sued by Harley.
there you go. So I mean, this
They
is
can sue you for a tattoo.
No, for
shirts, right?
I had a company called Rider for Life. We used to do like sport bike
Yeah.
shirts and stuff.
Use bar and shield.
So we did the bar and shield, but I changed it. I was like, I'm going to change this and that and
Right.
stuff. And so we said,
I'm going to make it lawyer proof.
yeah, it said Rider for Life instead of Harley. And it said Sport Bikes for Life and all
Right.
this stuff, and flames coming up with our logo and everything. And actually, funny enough, I was at the Washington IMS show. We had our booth set up and everything. And there was a dude standing there taking pictures and stuff. And I was like, okay. Then this other dude came up and said, hey, can I get a couple of those? And I'm like, sure. And we sold him thing. And he kind of looked familiar, but I didn't know. And so if you ever been to an IMS show, like everybody thinks it's a giant party, but if you're on the floor doing something, your day sucks.
It's
and when you
hard
yeah,
fucking work.
it's work. And so like when you get the opportunity to go to your hotel room, you're going there to lay down, watch TV for 30 minutes, and go to bed because you have to get up next day. So I go hit the hotel. I finally get there. It's like 10 p.m. I'm so tired that I'm like floating when I hit the bed, and I turn on the Discovery Channel, and it was the history of the V-Rod. And I'm like, okay. So I'm watching this, and it's like the first person to test ride the V-Rod was Willie G. Davison.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, fuck, that was the guy that was at our booth today.
Oh, really?
I get home, and 2 weeks later, I get a white embossed envelope with the Harley logo on the envelope. We need to see how many shirts you've sold, receipts of how many manufacturing shirts you've done, blah, 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 whatever. And fortunately, we sold like 400 shirts
Yeah.
at that point. So, they
They wanted a royalty or something.
No.
they cease and
Cease
desist.
and desist.
And if we sold over a certain amount, we'd have to pay them. But since we only sold 400 shirts and we agreed to cease and desist, we had to give away or destroy the shirts that we had left over. And then so I was like, and at that time they told me that they have a whole department of their motorcycle company. And I'm doing this with air quotes
Yeah.
for people that can't see
Right.
it. That they have over 20 people in a department that is just copyright infringement.
Sure.
That's
Maybe
it.
they should take those 20 people and put them in R&D.
Yeah, you're right.
But here's the thing. Yeah, they definitely should do that. But so any of these people that think that you can do any, they have over 2,000 variations of the bar and shield trademark in every possible configuration because they make more money off the shirts than they do their motorcycles.
So, John, what do we need to know? So, when you're thinking about these motors, I've heard rumors about these motors failing at as low as 15,000 miles, 12,000 miles, in a motorcycle that you bought expecting to get 100,000 miles out of.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why is this? What's the heart of this failure?
There was a few issues with them. The really early ones, I mean, if you're talking 99, 2000, under 2001 for sure, if you're in that little bracket, there was a bunch of issues. There was cam bearing issues. There was crank. Well, actually, the crank issues continued, but crankshaft issues.
Okay.
The big one that you're probably talking about is the cam chain. Harley Davidson used what they refer to as a silent chain.
Yes.
The automotive world knows it. They've used it forever. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
Hivo chain.
Yep.
And the goal was to reduce noise out of
Reduce-
that case. I mean, they want they wanted less mechanical noise. They wanted more potato, but they wanted
Hey, mechanical noise counts towards dBs.
Yep.
And that is a fact. And if you can't, I mean, when you're trying to eliminate dBs for EPA testing, you're going to get them any way you can.
A water jacket kind of.
Makes it really right. I know, right?
Water jackets insulate noise really well.
Really well. Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
there was early bikes. There was some sheared keyway issues on cam drive.
Really.
There were cam bolt issues where the bolt that holds the sprocket onto the driven cam would shear and let the sprocket come askew.
Yep.
The big thing though was the rear cam is the driven. You know what I mean? You got the crankshaft, the rear cam's driven, so
Right.
it gets more stress than the front cam. They had bearing failure issues because when they first came out with them, they used ball bearings in both ends.
Okay.
You know, and the ball bearings were failing on that more stress cam, so they changed it to a roller type bearing.
Yep.
You know, a little whatever you want to call roller bearing.
Yeah.
Fixed it, seemed to fix it. In the meanwhile, in those 4 years, they used no less than 4 different designs of camshaft support plate
Yeah.
or cam bearing support
Cam bearing
plate.
support plate. Yeah.
So if you do get into these things, it's really important to know which one you got. If you can't figure it out, ask either us or the dealer or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
ask-
I mean,
ask
that's really what it
professionals.
is. Yeah.
Once they got that stuff sorted out, there was still a persistent issue of these Hyvo chains, these silent chains. They were running a spring-loaded, spring-tensioned shoe made of some form of plastic material,
Yep.
composite material, that literally pushes against the chain to keep the slack out of it.
And when you look to it, it literally looks like a shoe on a coiled spring, and it is rubbing as it does. It is a small shoe too. It's less than an inch, and it's a piece of. It's on a regular spring, a hinge type spring, a rotary spring, and it's putting a hell of a lot of pressure against that chain.
Mm-hmm.
And the interface material is this nylon. You know, this thing. It's
plastic,
and,
yeah,
it's
whatever.
plastic.
Yep.
And, you know, cars have done this for years and years and years, where you have a chain-driven cam, and you have this big, long sleeve, and if you look at a Honda CB750 motor, they have one too. A lot of companies will use a device to take up the tension in a timing cam chain. Now, the trick is to distribute that load over the longest possible surface so that you're not grinding, you're guiding. You know?
And they will use a guide on one side, on the slack side of the chain, on the back side, however you want to say it,
Exactly.
the side
The
against
non-pulling
rotation.
side. Yep.
And they'll use a shoe, and the shoe is usually, I mean, if you're listening to this,
6 inches long, 8 inches
it's
long, 10
from
inches
the
long.
from the bottom of the cylinder head down to
Right.
the case of the engine.
As long as it
It's
can
usually,
be.
yeah, as long as it can
Right.
be.
Where's Cam
You
when
know.
you need him?
Yeah. The Harley Davidson one is
It's the size of a
probably
postage stamp.
20 mil long,
Yeah.
if that.
It's the size of a postage stamp.
3/4 of an inch, if
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's literally, the surface area is a postage stamp.
And I mean, the
Yeah.
chain itself, the main drive
Yep.
chain is probably about 10 inches in overall length.
Yes.
And then that drives the rear cam. And then there's on the inside of the camshaft support plate, there's another chain that goes from rear cam to front
To
cam.
the front cam. Yep.
And there's another shoe there.
Another shoe on that one.
And this chain is probably, geez, what is that? 6 inches
6
in
inches,
length?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And
With a
They were
motor
problematic-
running at such
oh,
a low,
sorry.
I'm
Go
saying,
ahead, go ahead.
With a motor running at such a slow speed,
you would think,
Yep.
you would think that why don't you just stick with like push rods or like put a
Oh, it's-
no
it's
I
a
know
push
it's got
rod,
push
isn't it?
rods,
Push
but
rod.
I'm saying
Yeah.
why not just put the can like
Oh, you mean
simple-
eliminate the chain drive? So with the twin
yeah, like
cam
geared,
ideas,
like geared. I mean,
Right.
I know it makes noise, but a helical gear
Yeah.
doesn't make that much noise, and you can run your cams off gears, and it eliminates all that entire
absolutely,
problem.
absolutely,
well, that's one of the fixes.
right.
And S&S is probably the biggest
Yep.
that offers that. Andrews offers a what the automotive industry calls a double roller.
Right.
roller chain. That's actually a bit noisier than the gear drive, believe
Of course
it or
it
not.
is.
Yeah. It's a Toyota uses on their trucks. It's a double.
So describe the
double chain.
failure, because this failure, the failure symptom starts with noise.
Failure symptom starts with noise. Basically what happens is the shoe material deteriorates and begins to circulate through your oil system.
That's the first.
Now,
I thought that was hilarious.
That engine
The oil
also
system.
has
Yeah.
an evolution of earlier engine has a gear-driven pump.
That's exactly.
Pieces of plastic will
Just
be
get
eaten
chewed
by them
right
and
up.
shoved right on through.
Yeah. Right.
The TCs, the twin cams,
Yeah.
have a rotor style or a tricoidal pump. They are not as friendly. I mean, they can actually clog the little passages in the. But yeah, pieces of the plastic get in there, and there's another thing that the twin cam engines have that the earlier engines don't have. It actually made the engine very much better, but they have oil jets bolted inside the cases that oil galleys lead to, and the jets direct a spray of oil up at the bottom of the pistons as the engine's running. It's spraying oil at the bottom of the pistons for cooling. It's a great thing until pieces of fucking plastic get stuck in the oil galleys.
And now, as
There's
small
little
as these-
there's little check valves in there. There's little check
Exactly.
balls in there.
Yep.
The plastic holds the check valves open.
Exactly. And then loses
Subsequently,
pumping
you don't
action.
have as much oil pressure everywhere else.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, hydraulic tappets, hydraulic lifters don't like it when you lose oil pressure.
And this is that thing where you're stacking bricks.
Yep.
You're literally stacking a fail on top of a fail on top of a fail. And there's no way to detect it from the outside of the motorcycle. When you're going to purchase this motorcycle and you're looking at this bike and you go, okay, it's got 21,000 miles on it. Here's his service records. Look, he changed his oil all the goddamn time. Good for him. He used Harley-Davidson synthetic 20W50 and everything else. But there's
Is oil pressure is oil pressure an indicator of potential failure?
yes, but where you're going
Yeah,
to
but it
draw
happens
your
really fast.
right, exactly.
Like, by the point, yeah.
Yeah. And remember when you're getting your oil pressure, it's where you decide to take the oil pressure reading from. Now, when these motorcycles, which do have three oiling systems, there's the oil system to the actual head that lubricates your cams, and then there's the oil system, the supplemental oil system that goes to the bottom that has all those jets, and that's pretty fucking cool. I mean, that's some slick shit. And then there's also your general sump oiling of the bottom of the motor as the piston goes around. If you lose the cooling effect of the oil that's spraying at the bottom of your cylinders, and you also lose, which can be obstructed as simple as these little tiny particles, grains of sand sized pieces of particles, which also are not behind, they're literally on the wrong side of your oil filter.
Correct.
So where they're coming apart is on unwashed part of the oil that we assume is already clean. And that's why it's getting into these passageways, and it's taking this trip through these little tiny ball checks that are super BB sized. I mean, they're tiny, tiny. And if those don't seat, which if you take the equivalent of your two thumbs, the tips of your thumbs, out of plastic, and take that all the way down to the bone, if you can imagine that much material, because they're about 6 or 7 millimeters thick. And that's a hell of a
That's
lot of plastic to be roaming around your motor. And it can go a lot of terrible places. But that's not the worst thing. That's just condition one. You can't even hear that at that point. At this point, all you're getting is starved for oil. You're not getting enough hydraulic pressure to make your...
You might notice, I mean, if you got a keen ear, you might notice tappets making a little bit of
little
noise.
more tappy
the
tap.
lifters, if
Yep.
you will.
A little more tappy tap.
You know, somebody that's got a decent ear that doesn't even know engines might think, boy, I might need a valve adjustment.
Oh,
Is what
yeah.
they might think.
And a hydraulically adjusted vehicle.
Yeah, which you
Which
don't
you
need
would
adjustment, but I
you'd
mean,
immediately go, oh, well, it's just a Harley.
a lot
And
of
that's
people
the
probably
problem.
would, especially if you're new to it, and
Yep.
you know, oh gee, I buy my first Harley,
And-
because now they're affordable, and
Yep.
yay!
And what's the solution for your motors making a little too much noise? Change oil. Change oil. Get them to the dealership. Get the dealership to sell you an oil change.
Put a louder exhaust on.
Right? Louder exhaust always, right?
And that might even
And they
mask,
said-
and that might mask the.
The number
the
one
symptoms.
problem is people can't hear this fucking problem. So then stage two is when the metal starts going away, when the plastic's all gone. that shit is now going to get a little more serious real quickly.
Yeah, you go from a little bit of extra heat and a little bit of noise to a whole bunch of noise, and I think that's where this.
That's where that
at.
one is, and that bike sounded when we fired that thing up, that noise that it made, my brain pictured the chain smacking against a piece of metal and taking large portions of the metal with it every time it did it.
I don't think all that noise. I mean, there's definitely some noise coming from the cam side of it.
Yeah.
Well, does it slap then once that thing is gone? Is it
Once that thing is
slap?
gone, it literally starts machining itself.
Okay.
So the chain, which is harder than the carrier, the shoe carrier, the chain will start machining the shoe carrier. And I've got some images here that kind of show what it looks like in case you're curious.
To change that
That's what they look like
tensioner.
when they're bad. What they call, quote, I love it because they call it unacceptable wear. Unacceptable wear looks like it was the landing gear on the space shuttle after the tires came off. Unacceptable wear is not unacceptable wear. Unacceptable wear is there's 9 ounces of metal in your motor that
God.
shouldn't be there.
That's pretty bad.
That's what the Harley Davidson guide says is unacceptable wear.
That's a Grand Canyon
Yes.
carved into that thing.
Yeah, it is literally, and that's already gone through 7 millimeters of plastic, Zytel nylon, to get to that point. So that's where they're saying is like the acceptable wear thing. It was like, oh, your Zytel nylon is scored, and then it was like replacement is recommended when there's almost no Zytel nylon left, because that's just roaming around your engine, and then it's this, which is unacceptable wear. And this is what it took to get a recall or to get a warranty replacement. According to Harley Davidson's service manual,
When was that issued?
2007.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, by
this guy's-
2007, they'd acknowledged that it was a problem, and they put out a TSB, technical service bulletin. Yeah.
Did they extend the warranty on that
No.
then?
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's it. That's what I
But
have.
it's not an actual recall. It's just a
Well,
bulletin
John, has there
on
ever
the
been a
website.
recall?
Fill a minute or two. No,
Oh,
it
yeah.
has not.
Right. There's never
There
been
was a service bulletin put out, and I
Right.
wrote it fucking down, and
So
I can't find
yeah,
it.
there's a technical
Damn it.
service bulletin that they did to basically alert shops to the fact that they were seeing this catastrophic problem, and that certain, and when you when you work in the shop, you see these things. They're worded in the most ambiguous way possible. It has come to our attention that on certain vehicles that have experienced extreme wear, that on occasion you may notice a lack of oil pressure to the top end or an overheating condition or blah-blah-blah, whatever, right? And if that's the circumstance, now the other thing too is you can't check this item.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way that with the motor still
Together.
physically together, you can't inspect it. There's no way for the home gamer who's considering buying a $4,000 Harley to know that he is not staring down the barrel of a $3,000 motor build.
To my knowledge, and I could be wrong. I'm sure if I am, somebody will send a fucking email.
Oh, yeah, of course they will. And I'll ignore it.
To my knowledge, they never did a campaign to say, "Hey, dear customer,
Voluntary.
come in and let us check this out."
Right.
It was only after there's an issue.
Yep.
We pull it apart. We find this. Oh, okay, this is wrong. I'm going to fix this and this.
Yep.
They hired Douglas Adams to issue the bulletin, and he put it in the basement
Yeah.
of the local church, and it was there for 90 days.
And nobody did anything.
There was no staircase to get down to it or anything like that.
But it was there.
But it was there.
It was there. You
So
could
I'm
have seen
sorry,
it.
Arthur Dent, but your house is being destroyed.
It's gone.
Yeah, my bad.
We need an off ramp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's it.
cam chains have been the bane of many companies.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the Honda. I mean, I love GL 500.
Of course.
But they were a problem on a
It's
GL
a very
500.
hard thing to manage because at the same time we want effective operation of a cam, but we also want quiet, and we also want long life, but we also want low maintenance. It's asking a fucking lot.
But you're almost better off to have a manually adjusted cam tensioner.
Well,
Because
I
then you
think
could
so.
see the distance it's going in,
And
you could see the
after-
length of wear on it.
And after the TC88, they do. They have a hydraulically adjusted cam chain tensioner.
Yeah, they
It
changed.
also has some problems.
they
See, what's the deal with these things? Because even on my S10,
Yeah.
okay, the second generation they addressed it, but on mine it's something I have to think about. They have a hydraulically adjusted cam chain tensioner, but they suggest that if around 28 to 30,000 miles, go ahead and throw the R1 manual adjustment cam chain tensioner. How come people can't figure these fucking things out? It's just like, seriously, if all these different brands can't figure out the cam chain tensioner, what is the big deal?
And
Because the chain stretches, and
Right.
the length of stretch, the amount of stretch, is not I mean, it's indeterminate.
It's
what that
completely-
chain, I
And
mean,
that's one of the side effects too, or that's one of the things that'll happen eventually if your shit gets worn out is as much as 4 degrees of cams being off.
which
And
would manifest itself
because
in the
you-
bike being really hard to start.
Because you have an intake and exhaust, or because you have a front and a rear cam, it's not an intake and exhaust. It's one runs the front cylinder, one runs the rear.
and it's multiplied.
It's well, think about the engine. It's working against itself at that point,
Better
which
potato salad.
kind of sort of multiplied one of their other problems, and that's crank shifting.
So this is this is what gets into another
For
catastrophic
the
failure.
first time
Yeah.
in Harley Davidson history, on the big twins, not on the old two-stroke stuff,
Yeah.
they did not have a crankshaft that was pinned and keyed together.
Exactly.
It was press fit,
Yep.
and
Was that just cost?
it was cost, and it was. I mean, the engineering department they thought it was going to work,
Okay.
and I mean, S&S does the same thing.
Okay. All right.
S&S uses a 250-ton press to put their shit together.
That's a little different than just cold
And a
fit.
guy with a
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a little different than cold fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you want to race a motor, even they TIG weld the pins.
Big TIG
in.
weld.
I mean,
Absolutely. Right. Standard
What's
stuff.
the age old thing you do your C1 crank if you're going to race?
What are you doing? You're gonna weld that fucker up, man.
Yep.
I don't care. I welded 15 Vespa cranks, man. Yeah, and it's throwing down a whopping 11.5 horsepower. Why? Well, welding's cheap. But if you twist a crank even 1 degree, what happens is when you twist a crank, the left side of the crank and the right side of the crank are no longer making perfect circles. And once it goes any amount at all, one of them will be grinding something at all times.
Yeah, the factory spec for out around is 1,000,
1,000.
which
Right.
to any performance
It's
builder
way
is
too much.
To any performance builder, that's like twice what is allowable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Half a thousand is usually.
Calling it calling
But,
1,000 acceptable is low RPM application.
Yeah, they were seeing like up to 30,000s out from some of the factory cranks when they were
How
twisting.
could that even run?
And well, it doesn't
It's-
for
it's
very
str-
long
it
because
shocks me that
it
that could
takes
even run.
out bearings.
Well, yeah, it pulls all the
takes
metal
it takes out the bearing. Which that's another thing that changed. They went from using Timken bearings,
Timken bearings,
tapered bearings,
Right.
to trying to use roller bearings in that left side case in 2000.
You
And
went to straight rollers
Yeah.
instead of tapered rollers.
yes, in everything prior, they had a pair of tapered rollers,
Yep,
and that's what located the crank as far as end play.
exactly.
That was on the left-hand side case.
Did they have one thrust and one carrier, or two thrusts?
They had
In the Timken
No
bearings?
thrust.
in the
Or no
Timken,
thrust.
the
The Timken
Timken bearings.
Or two thrusts? If they had two
They're
rollers,
against each other,
Yeah.
and your spacer in the middle sets your thrust,
Right.
sets your end play. Yeah.
So with the Timken setup, which worked great and was brilliant,
It's from 1936
Completely
through
reliable.
2000 and
oh, they
Oh,
had
so
the
those
double
are-
A that I did have.
So when they went to the straight
Yeah.
bearings,
Or-
that's when they failed.
yeah, well, when they changed
When they-
03 and newer.
03 and newer.
03 and newer are the straight bearings, and they had issues
Why
out of
did they
them.
do
And
that?
cheaper,
supposedly, after the crank twisting issue is averted, the bearing issue isn't quite as bad. Supposedly.
but you can
I
make
mean-
sure of that by putting in the Timken, literally by putting
Retrofit.
yeah, right. I mean that's
Retrofit.
ah,
And the cam chain issue, I know we're jumping around here, but
Yeah.
we're literally jumping around. I'm not going in order. The cam chain issue, what's the first thing that a lot of people want to do? Hot rod their motor.
hot rod their motor. Absolutely, going to put big cams.
Put a little
in.
bit
Yeah.
bigger cam. Well, the
Yeah,
cam
put taller
itself,
cam in
the
it.
cam itself isn't a big deal. But
Right.
what do you got to do along with the cam
Yeah.
for the valve springs?
Right.
Because the cam opens them,
Yep.
springs close them.
Springs close them.
If you
That's
put a
right.
big old wild cam with
Right.
stock springs, what happens?
Yeah.
They don't close
They
as
don't-
good.
they don't close.
Right. So you
Yeah.
get float.
You're floating like
So you
shit.
get put
Yep.
stiffer springs. What do you think stiffer springs do to those fucking little shoes?
Oh, it destroys them because now you have to work so much harder.
So
to
now
open those
that
valves.
little chain that's going between the two cams,
Yep.
it's trying to flop wildly.
Oh yeah,
Right? Because the cams are trying to.
that's exactly it.
So why is this not wildly known, and why is there not wild failures
Because
happening?
people. Well,
Don't
there are
ride
wild
their
failures. By the
Harleys?
way,
There are a lot.
there
of
are wild
failures.
failures happening
Okay.
because I was at the Harley dealership a couple of years ago when a fella came in with Ann Harley Davidson, and the guy was like, "Yeah, so how long you had that? You know, you had that Harley for a while, Dave. How you liking it? Yeah, I think I like it real good. Well, yeah, how many miles you got on there? Well, I got 26,000 miles on there." He goes, "Well, yeah, probably getting ready to rebuild that motor, aren't you? Let's go and talk to David. Let's go talk to Jerry in the
I
service
know, that's
department.
what I heard.
Let's talk to Jerry in the service
They said
department
30,000
about rebuilding, freshening up that motor." Because you haven't spent a whole lot of money in 25,000 miles.
Wow.
We need to open a vein on you. Okay?
But I heard that 30,000 was like those motors are like 30,000 mile motors.
Which motors?
Those
The
twin
twin
cams.
cam 88s. Well, yeah, okay.
That's I heard that they're like average wise you can
But
get
this
more,
is
you can
the
get
point.
a little less, but at 30,000 you're thinking about doing something
Playing
to
it
those
safe.
motors.
Partially because you're trained to.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I mean-
exactly it.
Partially because you're trained. They started out with the Evo because the base gaskets start weeping 32 to 38 usually. To see one with more than 40,000 miles on it, the base gaskets weren't weeping on was a real rarity.
Let me change
And
that
the
delivery.
dealer, instead of saying, you know what, we're going to change the base gaskets and get you going,
Yeah.
they're going to say, while we're in there,
Yep. Don't
Look
you
at a
deserve
stage
more
2 kit.
power? Don't you
Yeah.
deserve a stage 2 kit?
yeah, that's
Don't you deserve a?
That's
yeah.
right.
And that's the whole idea behind it is you've had your Harley for too long. Your options are either A, buy a new one, or B, don't you deserve some more power?
My new one is the stage left kit.
Right.
Well, and that's funny to see guys that are leaving
more
Harley.
power. Stage left.
Stage left even.
It's funny to see guys leaving Harley.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys now are leaving Harley and buying like BMWs and GSAs and stuff like that because it's the thing to do, right? And so anybody that knows these bikes are good for 100,000 whatever, and you see these guys with like 15,000 miles and they're questioning it. They're like, oh, that's 15,000 miles. They're freaking out about 15,000. I'm like, that thing's broken in maybe.
Harley Davidson people come in here and see $28,000 on our 28,000 miles on our F800 ST, and they're like, "Oh God, that's a lot of fucking miles."
It's clapped out.
And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? That's a lot of miles. Hold on, dude.
Just broken in.
Settle down, Tiger."
So what do you think? Is it okay? So is it the motorcycle industry? Is it programming? Because everybody, no matter what your thoughts are on a car, an automobile,
Yeah.
everybody could say 100,000 miles is fairly common for a car.
Absolutely.
Nobody's
Today's
gonna
market.
blink
Absolutely.
at 100,000 miles,
Yeah,
right?
If it's a
And if you're
Toyota,
bu-
double it.
right?
Yeah.
Double it, right? But for some
Yeah.
reason, when people look at motorcycles, sport bikes especially, or anything, 8,000 miles and people are sweating. When you get to adventure bikes and regular bikes, 25,000
don't-
miles, people are like,
A
"Ugh."
lot of it is they don't understand them. They think that because the bike turns more revolutions per minute that it has a much shorter lifespan. But realistically, I don't think people are even getting that far into the equation. I think it would cost Harley Davidson billions of dollars to repair the bad egg that was laid between 1999 and 2006. It would cost them billions of dollars to do that. Whereas the marketing campaign to encourage your customer to get a motor rebuild or a new motorcycle is virtually free and pays for itself and increased sales.
But you're also looking at 2003
And the
bikes.
customer's stupid. He bought a Harley Davidson anyway. He's easily manipulated.
Right,
The
right.
force works on that asshole. Yeah.
But those people put maybe under 2,000 miles. Like the majority of those people put
Exactly.
less than 2,000 miles on that bike a
There's
year.
three of them sitting right there.
Right.
We have empirical proof from a very small sampling in our room with us that it is not uncommon to see a 18-year-old motorcycle or 17-year-old motorcycle with 12,000 miles on it.
Right. Yep. So these problems aren't going to manifest until the second owner buys it
Yes.
and decides to ride it.
Potentially.
Or maybe, if they're riding it back and forth to bars.
What about
And that's why we're
Yeah.
talking about it right now, because what we want to do is we want to help the people listen to our podcast, prevent them from going out and going, dude, I just scored a $4,000 fucking Fat Boy. I just scored a $4,000 Fat Boy. I got to put some tires on it because they're dry rotted out, whatever. And, it needs of this and it needs of that. It might need a fuel pump to make, whatever. I don't give a fuck, right? but it just needs a couple of things.
But
But
What's a crate motor?
no, this
Or-
is
For
more
like
important.
like an 88.
This is
what's
more
a-
important.
I mean, I don't know, $5,000.
No, here's what's more important.
Yeah, 6,
The-
7.
We have first-hand information that says that a person, right, the inheritor of this motorcycle, a person who has means, will pay $3,000 to have that motor fixed, right? He gave $3,000 of his hard-earned dollars to somebody to fix the motorcycle that had a Kelly Blue Book value of $4,000.
So this is a cash cow for whoever's
Well, the problem is
fixing these.
the particular person that agreed to work on it and take the $3,000 didn't fix the problem. The noise went away for a little while, and I'm thinking a really good oil change was done with maybe a nice heavy weight of oil. But for a little while, the noise went away. But that was like, what do you say, 30 minutes? He said the noise went away for 30 fucking minutes.
Until the oil thinned out a little bit.
Exactly. And so it was enough to get the guy out of the door and cash the check. But how bad are you, how pissed are you going to be when the bike that you're so proud of, that you just scored a great deal on for a $4,000 or $5,000 big twin, ends up being, depending on the shop, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to fix it. And as we're going to talk about, how do you fix it?
Yeah, now the cam chain tensioner, is that, you have to split the case and everything to get to it?
No, it's under cam chest. That's in the
Okay,
right-hand
so
side.
Now that's
So-
just the tensioner.
It's a
Well,
simple
that's
the-
just the tensioner, so if
the
you do it as
tensioner
a-
issue, the cam bearing issue, all that should be addressed at the same time.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's just go ahead and hit it.
Do it.
My preference would be S&S. Andrews always also makes them.
Yep.
Different type of kit. S&S makes a kit that I think it retails for about $750, give or take. It converts to gear drive. It gives you strong bearing support. It gives you roller bearings instead of ball bearings. It gives you Torrington bearings on the inner cam bearings instead of the what the hell did Harley call them? What the fuck are my notes? I'm not used to notes. INA brand bearings.
INA.
so
INA.
In a pinch.
if the kit is 700, if the kit is 700, $800, what is the customer
That's
looking
what the
at?
flavor is. I don't know.
I mean, are they looking at a couple grand?
What's it to do?
$100 labor.
No, it's
No,
it
it's-
is not $100 labor. It's probably $750.
90 an hour, and I don't know. I really, I mean,
So call it like $2,000.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call that job. I'm gonna call that 5 to 7 hours, insies to outsies.
Five.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
finds a bike that they're in love with, Fat Bob, that's unbelievable, gives them the motor boner that they've always wanted, and they have this particular motor in it, they should probably plan on $2,000 to make
No,
that thing
that's
functional.
one problem.
Oh.
Continue, John.
All right then.
Oh, wait.
But there's more.
That addresses literally two situations. That addresses your cam,
your
cam
shoe
shoes, and
wear,
also
and it addresses
addresses
the
your-
camshaft bearing
your
issues.
bearing issue. Yeah, so that's
bearing
two.
failures.
Right. But realistically,
Wow, let's
I
look
mean,
it up for Harley.
The crank thing. I mean, admittedly, that was supposedly contained in late. Supposedly
contained, right.
contained in late. I want to say late 2000. Supposedly
Late 2000?
late 2000.
So the
no,
anniversary.
So you got 2 years, 2 solid years
I was-
of dressers.
like my idea was that, or my belief was that the 99, the 2000, and the 2001s were all suspect of the crank.
okay,
So the
Yeah.
99, the 2000, and
Could be
2001 were poison.
They're
so-
Harley Davidsons.
B01.
They're hardly.
So that's the crank you said?
That's a crank failure
And then the cam failure is when?
from 1999 to 2006.
Okay, so
Yeah, the
all
cam-
of them
cam
have a
failures,
cam
they-
failure.
Yeah.
They
And
think
then-
they got it fixed, and they don't.
Well, that's
I mean,
at,
when
in
did they go?
2007. They said that they changed to that hydraulic timing cam chain tensioner, which they said fixed the problem. But a lot of people have reported the same problem even after the fact.
The
But
only
if
thing
it's-
the
but if
hydraulic.
it's the shoe wear, then what? It's still going to wear.
Well, what the hydraulic, when they say hydraulic,
Yeah.
all they mean is that now instead of a spring pushing on the arm and the shoe,
Right.
there's a little cavity that's
Yeah.
filled with engine oil that's
Yep.
pushing on the shoe.
That's literally.
So
it's like-
as engine oil pressure varies,
Yep.
you're not always putting the high. So at idle, you're not putting that same, whatever pounds of pressure on
Audi
the
and
shoe.
BMW do the same thing.
Right.
So,
And so
every
does-
freaking automotive
Yeah.
manufacturer has done that since the 90s, probably. Or,
And my bike, my S10, that's known that when it fails, it has that. It exactly when it starts. If it doesn't have the pressure up, then it jumps a couple
rattle.
teeth and then it bends all the fucking
jumps
valves.
teeth. That's
Yeah.
even worse.
Yep.
I love the quote.
At least on the 07 and up, that is one of the, at idle,
Yeah.
when the bike's hot,
Yeah.
hot day, hot engine oil at idle,
Yeah.
if you can tell, a discerning ear can usually hear a
You can hear it.
rattle
You can hear the rattle.
over cold.
Yeah.
Does that
In
make
extreme
sense?
cases, even the newer hydraulic system can fail at 50,000 miles or less. Cam chain tensioners have a section in every service manual that covers the twin cam engines and is very enlightening. If your pipes are loud, you may not hear or get any warning. The oil pump passages can clog up without making any noise whatsoever, except when the engine starts tearing itself to pieces. The scary thing is that every twin cam engine has the potential to have the cam chain follower issue, even the newer models.
Yep.
Check things out before this happens to you. Now, this is what I thought was hilarious.
And I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to. I mean, you can't say like, "Well, you've made it past
No.
30,000.
You're good to go.
You should be
Right.
good now."
No.
It's
Right.
just like,
And the whole idea of check this out because it can happen to you. You really can't check it out. The right way
check
to
it
check
out
it
is
out
convert it to
is
gear drive.
to
and
make the commitment to
Eliminate
spend
the
$2
issue.
grand to get in to convert it to gear drive because you're going to check it in the following manner. It's the same way with a KLR. You're going to check your doohickey. You're not going to check your fucking doohickey. You're going to replace your goddamn doohickey with a metal one because the effort of going in to see it is the same effort of going in to change it.
Yeah, that's
Right. It's just that's a $300 issue. This is a
it's like a
$2,000
service. It's like a service manual saying inspect valve clearance. No,
right.
yeah,
You don't
okay, whatever.
inspect valve clearance.
Inspect
You
shit.
adjust valve
Yep.
clearance. Yeah.
On the some bikes like the R1150,
Yeah.
have the cams. The cam chain tensions right on the outside of the motor,
Mhm.
and you could just pull them out.
Absolutely.
And they were problematic
Yeah.
too, but they made there's a updated part number,
Yeah.
and you just take off your
You take off
injectors,
the
and
assembly.
then it pulls right out. You stick them in,
Pops
and
right
you're
out.
done.
Yeah. But that is
So-
not the way Harley was built. The Harley Davidson wasn't engineered to be serviced from the exterior in the bearing. Now, the good news is we don't have to take the motor out of the bike necessarily to do this repair, which is great. But if you do happen to have, in an extreme case, well, that's not going to say an extreme case. I don't like the language of saying it in an extreme case. In a normal wear situation, if you come upon the following situation, if you decide to fix your bike, so if you decide, step one is remember the first time you had a Honda car and it said, replace the timing chain or replace the timing belt at 50,000 miles. And you went, I can't afford that.
I think it's 20,000 miles.
Right, okay. So
You're talking crash motors.
right. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
talked about
yeah.
crash motors, and it was whatever the mileage was, and we went, well, I could afford a Honda Civic, but I can't afford to do the desperately needed timing, the top end work,
Yeah.
or the replacing the timing belt and the water pump that I should do because I once again am living as a young person, so I don't have that kind of extra cake laying around. So I'm just gonna be safe. I'm just gonna wing it, right? I'm just gonna drive it. I'm not gonna go too hard on it. And then what happens? Been there, done that, side of the road, right? And it's just like, well, guess what? Now you're in for $1,300.
Should have bought a Volvo because
Well-
non-interference.
But you know what? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I had the same thing happen in a goddamn 462 cubic inch Lincoln. So I had a vinyl
Oh,
drive gear.
those were bad.
Yes. So my engine timing was controlled not by, it was controlled by a metal chain, but it was also controlled by a vinyl gear to keep its luxury quietness, right? But what happened was the car was aged, it's 1968, but only had 26,000 miles on it. So when I'm going down fucking, 44 at 116 miles an hour,
Turn into ceramic.
right? And start going up the hill, and that nylon gear, that nice quiet nylon gear, decides that it's 20 some years old and it doesn't want to be in one piece anymore. It just went, and all the metal parts went, and it was like, I've never seen so much debris inside a fucking motor. And because it's a 462, there's all kinds of places it can go.
And you
And
no
I've-
longer had a hot rod Lincoln.
No, I didn't. I had a fucking, I had a very nice habitat for coral to grow on. Yeah. When the Navy decommissions a carrier like this, they normally send it off with fanfare.
Just they send it to India and they disassemble it.
I
on
was
the beach.
I was ready to scuttle that fucker. I really was, but it was so beautiful. But I went and I tore the motor and I did the job, and it took forever because once again, I are not car mechanic. But and when we're thinking about this, the preventative side of it, you really want to own that motorcycle is put all that money into it, right? Just for the fucking motor. The second thing is, let's say, fantasy world, we do have the one buyer who's a legit straight up podcast listener and he wants to do things right in the world. He's found his $3,500 awesome Harley that he really likes and he's ready to test the waters of being a Harley guy. And so he does everything right. He either reads a book, takes a course, or finds a Harley mechanic who's willing to do the job. They get in there and they pull out what you know what they're going to find, right? The motor's got 23,000 miles on it. What are they going to find? They're going to find 10% of what the factory put in there. Where there should be a hell of a lot of plastic, there's now a tiny little bit of plastic.
What about doing an oil analysis? That's what we do on our gearboxes.
Absolutely. An oil analysis is going to tell you a lot of things about your motor. Black Hawk oil analysis. They're very good and they're cheap. And you can send it in and they'll tell you things. And they also make snarky comments. So sometimes that's worth the price of admission. They'll tell you things like, obviously this bike's not been ridden correctly.
Sell it now.
Sell it now.
And they will settle
Yeah.
internet oil forum arguments.
They will.
Which is
They will
worth their
stand up
weight
on
in
your
gold.
back,
Yeah.
You know, just
But-
figure that $2,000 is nothing compared to the amount of money you're going to spend on tattoos and
And cutting the ass out of your leather pants so you can finally have chaps. But
That's like a few good trips to the titty bar.
right. But here's what I'm concerned with. If you put yourself in that position and you take that bike apart, you take that motor apart, and you look in there and you find what you're going to find, which is a stunning lack of plastic that's supposed to be there. Then you have to ask yourself the hard question of, I'm doing this job now. That's great. But where's all that shit? Where's all that plastic? Where did it go? And we discussed that there's a lot of places it can be that aren't particularly good for your future. Because what this does address is good. It addresses the future of a system that was bad that's no longer there anymore. The problem is there are places in that motor where you can't go to get that plastic out. And all of them can cause you extreme overheating, rapid part wear, and everything else. So you could do everything right and still be fucking dicked in the ass by this thing, by this problem. It's something I felt that when we were talking to him the other day, that guy, his heart was in the right place. It really was. Somebody had charged him $3,000. I loved it when you were sitting there and you're telling him, well, did you do the cam chain replacement? And the guy was like, I don't know. I have no idea. The guy said something about a bearing. I don't know. The guy said something about a bushing.
He initially said, I don't know.
Right.
And then towards the end of the conversation, he said, well, he told me about something that the hot setup is to convert it, but he said I was better off leaving it.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes. And I was like,
oh,
no.
bad mojo, no.
Well,
Why would you do
that means
that?
that guy was like, I would like to do the repair correctly, but I'd rather have the same amount of money
Without doing it.
without doing the repair. Right. And that just means that guy's boat needed a new motor, right, at the moment. And he just figured that, get this fucking guy, this guy's, people, a lot of times mechanics will read a customer and do horrible things. I mean, just horrible shit that we see or we hear about here.
So to recap, what year are these bikes?
99 to 2006 for sure. What date did you have?
9906.
Yeah.
So when somebody pulls
Except,
up 99,
except Dynas. An 06 Dynas were fixed with the hydraulic.
So, whoa. So I didn't know about that. So the Dynas, the Dynas.
Dyna got changed in
1
06.
year
Everything else
earlier?
got changed in 07, yeah.
Oh, that was probably just a production run thing.
Probably,
Probably.
yeah. But yeah, nine, I had, right there's what I had.
Yeah.
so when some chotch pulls up next to you with the
An 88
99
big
to 06 in between, you
Yeah.
can just start laughing at
Well,
it
I mean,
immediately.
yeah.
So for $600 more, you could buy a Super Cub and get rid of that Harley.
segue.
moral.
Nice segue. Yes.
I think on that we should remember, people, you should ride fast and take chances.
Can't
Reach the button.
reach the button.